requirements of a starship, her skills as an interstellar craftsman were sufficient. Lily was standing nearby, looking at Zhao Qin's side profile with some surprise. In just a few months, Zhao Qin has produced several technical blueprints for interstellar warships. Although he has shown impressive skill in building and researching starships, it is also quite frightening. Perhaps this is why Governor Chu He and the royal family pay so much attention to him. Soon, Annie, holding a lollipop after her meal, muttered, "Your plan requires building one T3 Andromeda-class interstellar medical ship and one T3 Goddess Academy-class starship. Then, the T2 Hammer ships will be expanded, with at least 5 of them. The other ships, like the T3 Illusion Sting Light Stealth Bomber, T2 Snow Mastiff Heavy Battleship, and T2 Lion King Heavy Missile Ship, don't have specific numbers. They will be built gradually after completing the initial tasks." "Yes," Zhao Qin nodded. "As for the raw materials and funds, no need to worry. I only care about efficiency," Zhao Qin said directly. The initial payment of 1.5 billion from Governor Chu has already been received. The old man is quite reliable. He keeps his promises. Now, Zhao Qin is a wealthy man. He wants more starships, more and more interstellar warships. Since that's the case, Annie raised her hand and summoned a holographic interface, along with a holographic keyboard. She hovered her hands in the air and quickly typed on it. Zhao Qin was impressed by her professionalism. Of course, if he could ignore the grease on her hands, the lollipop in her mouth, and her constantly swinging legs, it would be even better. After a few minutes, Annie finished her work and turned the projection to Zhao Qin. "Commander, take a look at my construction plan. Based on the current situation, the 2 T2 Hammer ships we are building should be completed and ready for service by mid-April." Zhao Qin glanced at the plan. In April, the 4 completed T2 Hammer ships will continue to produce 4 more, so by early May, Zhao Qin will have a total of 8 T2 Hammer ships. In May, the 4 T2 Hammer ships will keep producing more, and all 8 should be finished by the end of May. The remaining 3 T2 Hammer ships will each build one T3 Andromeda-class interstellar medical ship, one T3 Goddess Academy-class starship, and one T3 Phantom Stinger-class light interstellar stealth bomber. These 3 ships will take 2 months to complete and should be finished before the end of June. The last T2 Hammer ships, built in May and June, will produce one T2 Lion King-class heavy interstellar missile ship and one T2 Snow Mastiff-class heavy interstellar battleship, each capable of being completed and launched. In June, the 4 additional T2 Hammers along with the original 4 will continue production, making a total of 8 T2 Hammers. By the end of June, these will be ready for service. Altogether, in the second quarter of this year, the number of active T2 Hammers could reach 20 ships. There are also very detailed plans for construction. By the end of June, Zhao Qin's fleet is estimated to include one T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battle cruiser, one T3 Phantom Stinger-class light stealth bomber, one T3 Andromeda-class interstellar medical ship, one T3 Goddess Academy-class starship, one T2 Lion King-class heavy interstellar missile ship, one T2 Snow Mastiff-class heavy battleship, one T2 Queen Bee-class heavy carrier starship, one T2 Bronze Eden-class starship, 10 T2 Black Rhinoceros-class interstellar ships, and 20 T2 Hammer-class heavy industrial ships. In total, there are 15 combat starships, including 2 T3 ships and 13 T2 ships. There are 23 support starships, with 2 T3 ships and 21 T2 ships. Overall, the fleet will have 38 starships. Zhao Qin's mind already visualized a fleet floating in space, ready to follow his commands. He felt a little excited about it. But the number is still small. He wants hundreds or even thousands of starships. Wouldn't it be impressive to go out and show off? He quickly calmed his excitement. Zhao Qin carefully reviewed the detailed list, which Annie had also included, showing the materials needed and even the current shortages of starship craftsmen. First, the construction resources, which she had already converted into star coins based on current material prices. Not bad, very detailed. Over the past 3 months, the construction plan requires a total of 80 million star coins. In the past, Zhao Qin would have had to scramble to gather this amount of money, but now he hardly blinks an eye. This sum is less than a small fraction of his available funds. Previously, Zhao Chun had already accumulated 7 million star coins from missions and the bonuses from this recent award. Plus, he has a huge sum of 1.5 billion star coins. The 3-month construction plan is completely feasible. The raw materials needed are quite common and easy to purchase. Money is not a problem, but Zhao Chun notices another issue. The new starships being built will require nearly 4,000 crew members once they are operational. Among them, over 200 are combat personnel, and nearly 3,800 are technical staff. The biggest shortage is the 18 T2 iron hammers built in one go. Personnel is definitely a big problem, especially skilled technicians and starship craftsmen. Zhao Chun frowned slightly, rubbing his chin and muttering, "If we don't have enough staff, the starships might be put into service with no one to operate them. Especially for the T2 iron hammer. Without enough skilled craftsmen, the entire construction plan can't move forward." "Commander, I have a suggestion." Annie raises her hand and calls out. "Our dwarf race is born craftsmen, very suitable for this role." "Really?" Zhao Chun pretends to be surprised, looking at Annie as if he's a wolf seeing Little Red Riding Hood approaching. "But I heard that dwarves are actually reluctant to join other interstellar forces and prefer a natural way of life." "I don't want to force your people to work for me," Zhao Chun says, looking conflicted. Annie immediately responds, "It's true that many dwarves dislike being bound by others, but most of them share one trait. They love drinking, especially adult dwarves. In the current universe environment, food is very precious, let alone alcohol, which is a luxury far beyond fruit. As long as you, Commander, can meet their drinking needs once or twice a month, they will wholeheartedly work for you." After saying that, Annie looked proud, as if she thought she was very clever. "Annie, do you also drink alcohol?" Zhao Chun asked her. It's hard to imagine how this little girl looks when she drinks. Annie swallowed, and then put her hands in her pockets, turning them outward. "I don't have any money." Then Annie looked toward the food table, swallowed again, and whispered, "And the drinks are too expensive. Just now, I felt shy asking you, Commander, to buy me a drink. After all, you have your own meals to eat, and it wouldn't be right to ask you to buy a bottle of alcohol for a simple craftsman like me, right?" While speaking, Annie looked a little sad and sighed deeply. Lily, standing nearby, tried not to laugh. She could see Annie lowering her head and glancing at Zhao Chun from the corner of her eye. What is this girl thinking? Zhao Chun knew her mind very well. "What's available to drink here?" Zhao Chun asked Lily. Lily quickly replied, "Right now, we only have beer, rice wine, grape wine, and some fruit wines like bayberry wine." "Actually, rice wine is pretty good," Annie nodded seriously. "Go and get a bottle of rice wine using my meal allowance," Zhao Chun ordered directly. Soon, a bottle of rice wine was brought to Annie. Annie held the rice wine carefully in her hands, and Zhao Chun felt a strange sense of moral guilt, as if he was doing something wrong. "Before, you didn't want to tell us which planet you're from. Now you're already planning to arrange work for your people," Zhao Chun teased her. Annie, holding her treasured rice wine, said seriously, "Honestly, at first I was worried about how you, Commander, would handle things. But after these months of getting along, I trust you completely. Your brilliance is brighter than a star. Your charm surpasses the countless stars in the sky, and even black holes are insignificant compared to your pull." "Stop, stop. That's enough praise for today. Just one bottle of wine." Zhao Chun interrupted Annie's exaggerated compliment. Annie stuck out her tongue and spoke seriously. "My first words just now were sincere. You are truly a good person, and you treat all of us crew members very well. You treat orcs, succubi, and even me, a dwarf, equally. You have kept all your promises. That's why I think it's wise for my people to follow you. I also miss my family. I want them to sleep in clean, warm beds, eat enough every day, and not have to face danger just to survive. So, Commander, I promise they are capable and loyal. Please let them join your Black Dragon fleet." After saying this, Annie surprisingly put down her rice wine bottle and saluted Zhao Chun. Normally, this would be a serious scene, but a dwarf girl who is just over a meter tall, with oil stains on her mouth, saluting you, made it hard for Zhao Chun to take her seriously. All right, I get what you mean. Tell me, where is your planet located, and how many people are there? I can send a fleet to pick them up." Zhao Chun asked the key question. Annie raised her hand and opened a star map. It was a huge map showing the Galaxy Alliance and part of the mechanical race's star charts. Besides these two large areas, there were many gray zones. My planet is in this area. Annie pointed to a gray region on the map, but I don't know exactly which star system or planet it is. As long as I go to that place and find a detailed star map there, I can confirm its location. Lilith looked carefully and quickly told Zhao Chen. This area is in the Reefs of Darkness, a star region located between the mechanical race and the Starry Empire. It's very barren and difficult to defend, easy to attack. Neither the mechanical race nor the Starry Empire wants to control this area, so it has been autonomous for a long time. If we want to go to the Reefs of Darkness, using a T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battleship, and if there are no star gates in the local star system, it will take about half a month. A round trip would take a month, which is quite a long time. How many of your people are there? Zhao Chen asked further. Annie counted on her fingers and said, on our home planet, there are about 200,000 dwarves. She continued, in our star region, there are several tribes. My father says there are around 3 to 5 million people. 3 to 5 million people. Even if some are old, weak, women, and children, there are still at least 2 million young adults. If half of them are women, that's still a large number. All of these are interstellar craftsmen. Zhao Chen's eyes lit up, as if he saw gold. At this moment, Zhao Chen completely forgot the warning from Governor Chu. As the saying goes, fortune favors the brave. And this time, Zhao Chen was leaving the Star Glory Empire directly, so it wasn't as dangerous. But there's a problem, Lily said. With so many dwarves, we're not sure how many we can take. Even if it's just a few 10,000, transporting them will be a big challenge. Transporting dwarves requires some starships. After all, relying only on the T-3 Blizzard, even fully loaded with people, can only carry about 1,000. With hundreds of thousands of dwarves, that's not enough. This is a problem. I'll think about it, Zhao Chen said, looking at Annie. I need some time to prepare. When the time comes, I will take you back to your home planet. You will try to persuade your people to join us. During this time, he continued, Captain Jenny said she can't manage the interstellar industrial ships alone. So, you will also serve as deputy captain for 2 of these ships, helping to plan and organize their construction. Annie nodded heavily. Okay, I really want to go home and see my family. Then, Annie blinked at Zhao Chen. Commander, does this count as an increase in workload or a promotion? Can I get a better salary or benefits? I'll think about that when I go back, Zhao Chen said with a squint. As the number of starships increased, the Dragon fleet grew stronger. The leadership team also needed to expand. It couldn't always be just Zhao Chen and 2 others. After giving these orders, Zhao Chen instructed T-3 Blizzard to return to the Northern Star Academy. Since they had already returned to the Northern Star System, it was only right to show their face at the Academy after causing such a big commotion in the Blue Star System. After a period of faster-than-light travel, T-3 Blizzard appeared again at the starport of the Northern Star Academy. The moment this famous starship appeared, everyone who could see the starport gathered around, eager to see the legendary T-3 Blizzard. Wow, it's so beautiful. This is that legendary starship. That's nothing. You haven't seen it when it first arrived at the Academy. Back then, it didn't have so many battle scars, and it looked even more stunning. A student who had the honor of witnessing T-3 Blizzard's first visit proudly said. A boy next to him stared at the ship with admiration. No, I think the current T-3 Blizzard looks even cooler. Although it has some unrepaired battle wounds, those scars give the ship real character and soul. The other students nodded vaguely, seeming to understand. I heard that the captain of this starship, Zhao Chen, single-handedly fought his way through the Zerg's last stand and saved all the students and teachers in the 2 academies after 3 days and nights of fierce battle. A younger girl, who had heard some gossip, said admiringly. That's not true. I heard Zhao Chen fought the Zerg barehanded when rescuing everyone. He was so hungry he ate a Zerg and drank its blood when thirsty, a boy said with admiration. These stories might not all be confirmed, but what is certain is that after Zhao Chen returned, the royal fleet personally awarded him a title. The royal fleet personally honored him. Do you know what that means? Zhao Chen was promoted from a baron to a viscount. Although he's only a viscount now, his future is definitely bright. What you said is nothing compared to this. Governor Chu, he knows, right? The Chu family knows, right? Now, Senior Zhao Chun is recognized as the son-in-law approved by Governor Chu. Who is Governor Chu's granddaughter? She is the granddaughter of Governor Chu He, the governor of the North Wind Star region. This is a huge rise in status. Recently, all kinds of gossip about Zhao Chun have been spreading wildly at the Northern Star Academy, even with some strange versions. Among them, someone mentioned a small incident. Once, Zhao Chun's fiancée supposedly abandoned him. Look, that's Jiang Sasa, the one who abandoned Senior Zhao Chun. TSK. She really has no eye for good people. Zhao Chun is such a good guy, and she didn't even want him. Humph, this kind of woman just doesn't know how lucky she is. If I had such a brave fiancé, I would slap myself first during an argument. Ugh, she's ungrateful. Jiang Sasa, who was pointed at by many, stood in a corner, looking at the T3 Blizzard slowly docking at the starport. Her mood was very complicated. Outside the dock where the T3 Blizzard was mooring, many teachers from the academy, including the dean and several vice deans, had gathered to welcome the man. This kind of treatment was rare in the entire Starry Empire. Jiang Sasa clenched her fists. If she hadn't given up on Zhao Chun back then, would she now be the one others envy? Sasa, stop thinking about it. Those are all in the past. Now I am here with you, and I will protect you. A boy stood next to Jiang Sasa, reaching out to put his hand on her shoulder. But Jiang Sasa dodged it and whispered, Senior, I understand what you mean, but I don't have any other thoughts right now. The next moment, a bottle of water was poured on Jiang Sasa's face. Are you thinking about Zhao Chun? Regretting now? Why didn't you do it earlier? You, a noble girl who isn't even a countess, I was lucky to like you. Don't be ungrateful. Now, you're not even qualified to carry Zhao Chun's shoes. Ugh, the senior, no longer gentle, disdainfully looked down on Jiang Sasa, and then turned and left without looking back. Jiang Sasa was stunned for a moment, then burst into wild laughter. As she laughed, she started crying, but no one around pitied her. Zhao Chun and Zhao Wanner walked down together. The scene before them was similar to the one at Lantian Star System spaceport, with various celebration rituals prepared. Unlike before, this time there were college reporters filming Zhao Chun, recording him and the legendary starship behind him. Clearly, this will become a legendary story at Beiji Star College. Senior Zhao Chun. Senior Zhao Chun. A group of girls rushed forward, offering their gifts to Zhao Chun, pushing Zhao Wanner several meters away. When Zhao Wanner finally realized what was happening, she was surprised at how she ended up here. Eventually, some girls noticed Zhao Wanner after failing to gather around Zhao Chun and approached her with smiles, offering gifts. Wanner, this is a gift for your brother. Please pass it to him. Wanner, I am a student from class 3 next door. We ate at the same table in the college cafeteria before. I want to ask if your brother has any communication app accounts. Little sister, senior sister has been paying attention to you. You have good talent. If you have any difficulties in the future, just talk to your sister-in-law. Senior sister, I can help tutor you. And if Zhao Chun has any questions, I can also help him. Zhao Wanner looked grim at these cheerful girls, some even shoving love letters into her hands. However, she didn't give these letters to Zhao Chun. After leaving, she unceremoniously threw them into the paper shredder. She watched as Zhao Chun, who had barely escaped a dangerous situation thanks to the help of college teachers, looked terrible. His face, neck, arms, and even his clothes were covered in lipstick marks, with several buttons missing from his shirt. His hands were full of various things, and there were some indescribable items in his pockets. At this moment, Zhao Chun, who had narrowly escaped, only felt one thing. Oh my God, these women are scarier than bugs. He almost thought he was going to be eaten just now. These girls are really too wild. A charming female teacher gently wiped the lipstick mark on Zhao Chun's face with a handkerchief and tidied up his clothes. At first, everything seemed normal, but gradually Zhao Chun felt that the teacher was standing a bit too close to him. Especially, why was she fixing his back pocket? Could there be some strange marks there? Cough, cough. This can be understood. Young people admire heroes, said Vice Dean Hong, stepping forward to praise him. This made the enthusiastic teacher finally step back from Zhao Chun, though she still looked at him with a flirtatious gaze. Seeing this, Zhao Chun casually responded with a few polite words. At this moment, the elderly Dean Qin approached. He looked at Zhao Chun and bowed deeply. Zhao Chun, As the dean of Beijing College, I want to thank you for saving the teachers and students of both departments. As a father, I thank you for rescuing my daughter, who is the team leader, Teacher Qin. Thank you. Dean Qin's daughter is the team leader, Teacher Qin. With Dean Qin's bow, the teachers around also bowed deeply, including some who had argued about whether to go for the rescue earlier. Zhao Qin didn't feel like criticizing their initial thoughts. Everyone has their own reasons. They acted from the college's interests, which isn't wrong. If Zhao Qin didn't have the T3 Storm Blizzard-class light interstellar battleship, he wouldn't have been able to save the teachers and students from the alien hive. If it weren't for Yin or Zhao, or the system rewards, he wouldn't have risked going in. I just did what I could, Zhao Qin said calmly. Zhao Qin, we are planning to hold a celebration banquet for you. Plus, there's a scholarship of 300,000 star coins. I see your starship hasn't been repaired yet. Our college's starport will repair your starship free of charge, Vice Dean Hong said enthusiastically. Everything else is fine, but I don't want a celebration banquet, Zhao Qin declined. He had just attended a special celebration recently. All right, since Zhao Qin doesn't want it, we'll skip it. Vice Dean Hong paused for a moment, secretly admiring Zhao Qin. Not chasing fame or profit. He truly is a good kid. However, I have some other matters I want to discuss with the dean and vice dean, Zhao Qin said. Your matters are the school's matters, Dean Qin replied. Zhao Qin straightforwardly asked, does my rescue mission count toward academic credits? Hearing this, the teachers present were all stunned. Such an important matter, and Zhao Qin sees it just as a way to earn credits? If this counts as academic credits, you could be promoted to the next grade level, Zhao Qin. But you just skipped a grade this year. Skipping again might affect your studies, Vice Dean Hong said, a bit worried. Zhao Qin smiled and asked back, Vice Dean Hong, do you think I still have anything to learn? This student is so confident and bold. But looking at his performance during the rescue, there's really nothing to criticize, and the school has nothing more to teach him. He dared to pilot a T3 interstellar battleship to face a million-strong insect swarm without fear. In terms of theoretical knowledge, there's really nothing more to teach Zhao Qin. If he wants to skip a grade, I can count this rescue mission as triple credits for a fifth-year student. Immediately, I will arrange for him to be in the 6th grade, and he can graduate directly this July, Dean Qin promised Zhao Qin. He knew this young man was exceptional. The Beijing Star Academy couldn't afford to keep such a genius. What he lacked was more practical experience, and the school couldn't teach him that anymore. Zhao Qin felt a surge of happiness. This meant his annual mission was finally coming to an end. Thank you, Dean, Zhao Qin said gratefully. After exchanging a few polite words, everyone dispersed. Zhao Qin then took Zhao Wanner back to the T3 Blizzard. Zhao Qin didn't dare stay at the academy for long. That terrifying scene just now. Who knew what might happen if he wandered around the school? Student, Zhao Qin age, 21 identity, Lord of the Xianglong star system in the Beifeng star domain, Viscount title, grade, 6th year department, ship captain class, 6th year, class 1. Zhao Qin received the update about his student status. He teased Zhao Wanner, poking her head, and said, come on, call me senior and let me hear it. Yes, senior. You are very popular. So many fans are around you. Even the beautiful teacher is attracted to you. Zhao Wanner sarcastically looked at Zhao Qin, then rolled her eyes and returned to Beijing Academy. Zhao Qin didn't dare go back to the academy because he still had some things to handle. This girl is so strange. I feel a bit jealous. He has mostly finished dealing with the matters at Beijing Academy and also some other things. Going to the Dark Reef Starfield to pick up the dwarf clan is a necessary task, but the timing of the trip is uncertain. The journey will take over a month. Before that, Zhao Qin needs to plan some things first. He sent a message to an account, then returned to his captain's room and sat at his desk waiting. Soon, he received a reply, which included a link to a holographic video chat room. Zhao Qin clicked the link, and instantly everything around him changed. It was as if he was on a beach. Sitting across from him was a woman who had been waiting for a long time. She seemed to be trying to hide her excitement, but her eyes showed both excitement and nervousness as she looked at Zhao Qin. May I ask what urgent matter you want to discuss with me this time? Liyaki looked at the masked man in front of her with curiosity. She was busy expanding the Starship factory and attending meetings. She usually has 3 to 5 meetings a day and only gets about 4 or 5 hours of rest. so she is very busy. But because of that special account communication, she immediately dropped all her work and returned to her office to enter this holographic chat room. Actually, she had been thinking about this man for a few days because of something that made her very anxious. You know about the rescue of the students and teachers in the two academies, right? Zhao Qin smiled as he looked at her. Liyaki was surprised and pretended to be shocked. Oh, you mean that incident? Yes, I heard about it. I heard that one of the students is from Beijing Academy and was even adopted by Governor Chu as his son-in-law. Do you know that person's identity? Zhao Qin asked again. Liyaki shook her head as if she didn't know. He seems to be good friends with my brother, but I don't know much else. Actually, her thoughts were mostly on the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battleship incident. Liyaki was almost certain about the identity of the man in the mask, with 99% confidence. However, because of the warning he had given earlier, she didn't dare to reveal the truth. At this moment, the man in front of her surprisingly did something she didn't expect. He took off his mask. Wait, I didn't see anything. Liyaki immediately covered her eyes, pretending she saw nothing. Zhao Chun was surprised by her reaction. What are you doing? You already guessed my identity earlier. Liyaki still kept her eyes covered, worried as she said, Sir, is it because you don't want to work with me anymore that you took off your mask? Not wanting to work with you? Why would I think that? Zhao Chun chuckled. Liyaki peeked through a small gap in her fingers and said, Because your current public identity is the son-in-law of the Chu family. With such great resources from the Chu family, why would you still want to work with me? She had thought she found a money tree, but now. This was also the reason she had been feeling uneasy these days. It turned out she was worried about this. The Chu family is the Chu family, and you are you. You're different, Zhao Qin said. I don't quite understand what you mean, Liyaki asked, confused. Zhao Qin continued. You just said that the Chu family has its own resources. Working with the Chu family might seem natural for me, but some things should never be put in the same basket, you and the Chu family. Liyaki was even more surprised now. Zhao Qin directly said, Don't worry about other things, and don't ask. I'll ask you directly, do you still want to work with me? Of course I do. Liyaki nodded repeatedly. How could she not want to? Relying on the T-1 Wolf Lice-class medium-sized starship destroyer had already helped her North Goose Starship Technology Group rise. The subsequent 4 starship models were even more impressive. Although they weren't as popular as the T-1 Wolf Lice, they were still highly sought after. All of this was thanks to Zhao Chun, the money tree. All right, from now on, our cooperation must be kept absolutely secret. Apart from you and me, no one else should know, including Li Wei. He might guess some things, but you must make sure he doesn't reveal anything publicly. If we can keep this secret, our cooperation can not only continue, but also deepen. Zhao Chun stared at Liyaki. Hearing that our partnership can go on, Liyaki felt relieved. I understand all of this. I will definitely keep this secret. Even when my father asks where I got this starship technology, I won't tell him, Liyaki said firmly. Although our matters need to be kept secret, there will still be some contact. So I need you to find a way to establish a way for us to communicate without exposing ourselves, and that allows us to exchange resources. For example, if I need raw materials, you can send them to me through this route, Zhao Chun said seriously. Liyaki thought for a moment and suddenly said, There is actually a way. I have secret contacts with an interstellar pirate fleet. Since we are involved in interstellar trade, we inevitably have to deal with these gray area industries. The captain of this pirate fleet is trustworthy. If you need resources or supplies later, I can arrange for her fleet to travel through the galaxy's border space between star systems and deliver the supplies to your designated area. It will be completely secret. However, this method takes many times longer than normal shipping, unless you have very advanced interstellar transport ships. But your Xianglong star system is close to the border, so a single trip won't take too long. Hearing Liyaki's suggestion, Zhao Chun was very pleased with this method. Exactly what I need right now is a batch of interstellar transport ships. Arrange it for me. I will give you a coordinate and quietly deliver this batch of ships to the specified location, Zhao Chun instructed. To pick up the dwarf tribe, he needs interstellar transport ships. But Zhao Chun can't openly buy a batch of ships, or it will raise suspicion. He can't let Governor Chu know that he just finished a meeting and slipped out of the Beifeng star domain. Just now, I finished producing a batch of the T2 deer you requested. How many do you need? Liyaki asked. The T2 Moose-class heavy interstellar transport ship is one of the 4 starship designs Zhao Chun previously handed over to Liyaki for operation. Zhao Chun begins to recall the data for this interstellar transport ship. If a single ship is fully used to carry people, it can hold about 100,000 individuals. However, we also need to consider the food required for these people on each trip, as well as the luggage they might carry. After all, families traveling together will have a lot of belongings. Based on an initial estimate, each ship can carry around 50,000 people. On the first trip, not many dwarf tribes are likely to trust us. Currently, Zhao Qin's team of starship engineers isn't very short-staffed, so just bringing back a few thousand people would be considered a good start. Let's plan for 5 ships first. This also leaves room for unexpected situations. Arrange 5 T2 Moose ships for me. I'll handle the crew on board, and when the ships are delivered, the crew will be withdrawn. Tell me, how much do these 5 T2 Moose ships cost? I can transfer the payment to you or deduct it from my licensing fees, Zhao Qin instructed. What are you talking about? The T2 Moose is built using your starship technology, and just 5 ships cost only 50,000 star coins. These 5 ships are not worth much. Liyaki quickly waved her hand, refusing Zhao Qin's payment request. Actually, Liyaki was intentionally underestimating. The manufacturing cost is 50,000 star coins, but the selling price is 1 million star coins each. So, these 5 ships are worth 5 million star coins. Since the T2 Moose was released, it has been very popular, with orders booked for up to 6 months ahead. Seeing Liyaki's response, Zhao Chun didn't press further. How are the sales of the 4 starship designs I gave you earlier? Zhao Chun casually asked. Liyaki immediately showed her professional attitude and began to give a detailed report. However, Zhao Chun only remembered a few numbers from her explanation. It has been 3 months since she started setting up production lines for these 4 starship models. She invested all the profits from the T1 Wolf fleet into building the production lines for these 4 ships. By the 3rd month, mass production was achieved and a launch event was held. In just 1 month, over 100 starships were sold, and the orders reached over 1,000 ships. Without counting prepaid orders, the total sales value reached 90 million star coins. According to our previous agreement, you will take 70%, which is 63 million star coins. After deducting the 20 million star coins you previously advanced, you will receive 43 million star coins. I was planning to contact you in a few days to transfer this technology licensing fee to you, said Liyaki. Although I only earned 20% profit, I am very satisfied. As production capacity gradually increases in the future, this income will grow more and more. This money is not urgent. You can keep it first, Zhao Chun said. He currently has 1.5 billion star coins, so these small amounts are not a big deal for him. Keeping the money with Liyaki is also convenient for him to handle some matters later. You just mentioned the Hurricane Consortium? Did you have a conflict with them? Zhao Chun asked with interest. When mentioning this, Liyaki said helplessly, this is also because of the T2 Camel. The Hurricane Consortium has been fighting for territory in the T2 interstellar transport ship market over the past few years, especially in the Northwind Star region. Currently, the Hurricane Consortium has taken over 30% of the T2 interstellar transport ship market in the Northwind Star region. But because of our T2 Camel, which offers high-cost performance, they lost many customers to us. So they started targeting us openly and secretly, such as blocking our raw material supplies. Liyaki was very annoyed, but since they are the Hurricane Consortium, although she built her reputation with the T1 Wolf lice, she still lagged far behind the Hurricane Consortium. Zhao Chun then showed a meaningful smile. Since that's the case, have you thought about revenge against the Hurricane Consortium? Revenge? Liyaki was surprised. How would we do that? They are a big company. If we start a price war, even though we have a cost advantage, they have enough funds, and we might end up being overwhelmed. Hit them where it hurts most, Zhao Chun said with a sharp gaze, like an eagle targeting prey. Their T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer is the best-selling starship. I will give you the technical drawings for a T2 level interstellar destroyer later. We will strike at their strongest point and defeat them. Zhao Chun's vengeful nature couldn't be contained. If he couldn't deal with Blue Fatty and Yellow Mouse, he would first hit their wallets. Really, Liyaki widened her eyes, hardly believing what she heard. Zhao Chun was planning to target the T-2 Hound-class medium interstellar destroyer of the Hurricane Corporation. This ship had been the best-selling T-2 class interstellar destroyer for 10 straight years. Even some Imperial military units responsible for guarding different star regions would occasionally purchase a batch of T-2 Hound-class ships. Although the Hurricane Corporation had accumulated wealth from the T-2 Hound-class destroyer and developed other types of starships, they had also started exploring the T-3 class market. But the T-2 Hound class remained their main moneymaker, a towering tree supporting the Hurricane Corporation. Many starship technology groups also wanted to take a share of the huge T-2 destroyer market. While T-3 class starships were very profitable, they were also very expensive, costing over $1 billion stars each, so their sales were limited. The technology needed to build T-3 ships was very advanced. Fewer than 10 groups could do it, and many had to buy some parts from partners. Complete independence in manufacturing was probably only possible for a handful. In the T-2 market, the T-2 carrier and T-2 battleship were the most iconic ships in many people's dreams. But dreams are just dreams. In reality, the best-selling ships were interstellar destroyers. They were considered versatile and essential, followed by interstellar frigates and cruisers. That seems unlikely. Although the T-2 Hound-class destroyer has been around for decades, they release new models every few years, constantly updating and improving. Many want to compete for their market share. But so far, the Hurricane Corporation holds half of the T-2 destroyer market across the entire Star Glory Empire. Liyaki still thought this was a very difficult challenge. Zhao Chun smiled slightly. I'll contact you again in a day. Also, go handle what I asked you to do. After saying that, Zhao Chun left the holographic communication room, leaving Liyaki sitting there, looking confused. Could Zhao Chun really develop a starship capable of dominating the Hurricane Consortium's market? If that's true, Liyaki feels a surge of excitement. As a business person, she longs for fierce competition in the marketplace. Zhao Chun opens his system shop interface and begins choosing the right type of ship. Since he is aiming to surpass the Hurricane Consortium's T-2 Howling Wolf-class medium starship destroyer, he naturally needs a starship destroyer, and it should be medium-sized. He wants a ship that closely resembles the T-2 Howling Wolf but far exceeds its capabilities. Soon, Zhao Chun locks onto his target. T-2 Tibetan Mastiff-class medium starship destroyer. Coincidentally, both ship names are related to dogs. Spend 300 system points and 4 mission points to exchange for the T-2 Tibetan Mastiff-class medium starship destroyer blueprint. Congratulations. You have received the blueprint for the T-2 Tibetan Mastiff-class medium starship destroyer. Remaining system points, 7,420. Remaining mission points, 60. Quickly, Zhao Chun visualizes the blueprint for this T-2 Tibetan Mastiff-class starship destroyer. It's definitely a ship that can completely outclass the T-2 Howling Wolf. Taking this opportunity, Zhao Chun also looks at the T-3 level star industrial ships. The T-2 Hammer-class heavy star industrial ship is gradually becoming insufficient for future T-3 starship deployment. Without enough T-2 Hammer ships as backup, building T-3 star industrial ships could lead to a period of low production capacity. Therefore, Zhao Chun decides to first mass-produce T-2 Hammer-class heavy star industrial ships to ensure basic capacity, then seek higher-level T-3 star industrial ships. Soon, he finds a suitable T-3 star industrial ship. However, some of its construction requirements shock him. First, the cost of a single ship is as high as 60 million star coins. That's incredibly expensive. The T-3 Blizzard-class light star battlecruiser costs only 12 million star coins, which is 4 to 5 times cheaper. Even if Zhao Chun is now very wealthy, he cannot build many of this type of interstellar industrial ship. Secondly, if a T-2 Hammer-class heavy interstellar industrial ship is used to build this T-3 interstellar industrial ship, and only one ship is responsible for construction, it would take a full year. Fortunately, multiple T-2 Hammer-class ships can work together on the project. Under the fastest conditions, 10 T-2 Hammer-class ships can complete the construction of one T-3 interstellar industrial ship within a month. Third, the personnel requirement is very high. A single ship needs up to 1,000 people. This is not just an interstellar warship. It is more like a moving large-scale starship factory. From the simple data available, This T3 interstellar industrial ship even surpasses a real starship factory in capability, producing several times more. Another issue is that this T3 interstellar industrial ship requires 18,000 system points and 30 mission points. Zhao Chen currently has enough mission points, but he is short of a large portion of system points. It seems I have to wait a bit longer. When the next quarters and annual missions are completed, I can exchange for this T3 level starship. This will also give me time to solve the personnel shortage for starship engineers. Zhao Chen planned for the future. Building a fleet of starships requires a large industrial system. Of course, it also needs a huge amount of funding. Zhao Chen has two main strategies. One is the public face of Governor Chu He, and the other is the secret backing of Li Yaqi. Using both approaches provides double insurance. This is also why Zhao Chen wants Li Yaqi to defeat the Hurricane Consortium, partly for revenge, and partly to help her North Goose Starship Technology Group expand into the interstellar market faster and strengthen her capabilities. Without saying much, Zhao Chen began editing the technical data for the T2 Mastiff-class medium interstellar destroyer. After several hours, he sent the completed starship technical data to Li Yaqi. Li Yaqi had been feeling uneasy for nearly a day. She made several mistakes while handling her affairs. "Chairman, are you perhaps too tired lately?" her little secretary asked with concern. Li Yaqi massaged her temples, feeling upset because Zhao Chen had caused her to feel stuck. The matter was unresolved, so she had no energy to do anything else. "Maybe I am a little tired. Please cancel all my upcoming plans. I need to rest for a day. If there's nothing urgent, don't let anyone disturb me," she said, leaning back in her office chair. "Yes." The secretary nodded and quietly left the office, closing the door behind her. Li Yaqi stared at her email on the virtual screen in front of her. Suddenly, a message popped up. She immediately became alert. When she opened it, she saw it was from a business partner. She impatiently closed the message and then temporarily blocked all her accounts except Zhao Chen's private one. There was nothing more important right now than this matter. After waiting a few more minutes, Li Yaqi finally received a message from the man. It was a technical blueprint of a starship, a T2 Mastiff-class medium-sized interstellar destroyer. It was indeed comparable to the T2 Hyena-class destroyer, but she wasn't sure if it could really surpass the T2 Hyena, which had been a popular starship for 10 years. Li Yaqi opened the blueprint and started examining the detailed data. She couldn't ignore it. Her eyes widened, and her breathing grew faster. A few hours later, Li Yaqi couldn't wait and sent a message to the man requesting another meeting. He agreed. They appeared in a holographic scene set in a garden. "Can your technical blueprint really achieve the specifications listed?" Li Yaqi asked, her eyes shining with excitement as she looked at Zhao Chen. "Absolutely, no problem at all," he replied confidently. Li Yaqi swallowed hard and asked softly, "Is this T2 Mastiff-class destroyer really designed specifically to compete with the T2 Hyena?" "You can think of it that way," Zhao Chen said. The starship blueprint provided by the system was unknown to anyone else, and Zhao Chen was confident in his work. Li Yaqi raised her hand and made a simple comparison report of the two starships, putting the T2 Hyena and T2 Mastiff side by side. There is no need to discuss the ship types. Both sides are using the same class, a medium-sized interstellar battleship. Regarding armor strength, T2 Hyena class, 150 to 180 units. T2 Mastiff class, 170 to 200 units. The T2 Mastiff is better. Regarding cruising speed, T2 Hyena class, 43-star speed. T2 Mastiff class, 50-star speed, almost 15% faster. Regarding starship weapons, T2 Hyena class, 1 medium pulse laser main gun, for medium electronic rapid-fire secondary guns, 16 medium closed defense guns. T2 Mastiff class, 1 twin-linked medium pulse laser main gun, 6 medium electronic rapid-fire secondary guns, 30 twin-linked medium closed defense guns. Both use very similar weapon types. But the T2 Mastiff is much more powerful. Even Zhao Chen says the T2 Mastiff wasn't designed to target the T2 Hyena, but no one believes that. Moreover, the T2 Mastiff surpasses the T2 Hyena in every aspect. It's also unlikely that Zhao Chen's T2 Mastiff isn't meant to compete with the T2 Hyena. And the T2 Mastiff costs only 200,000 star coins, while while the selling price is around 4 million star coins. Liaki can easily imagine what would happen if this T2 Mastiff were promoted widely. With the T2 Mastiff outperforming the T2 Hyena in every way and costing the same, it's a clear advantage. Most importantly, the T2 Mastiff was just released, and Liaki has the authority to set its price. She could price it between 3 million and 3.5 million star coins per ship. Then, how could the T2 Hyena compete with the T2 Mastiff? Its performance isn't as good, and it's cheaper in price. This would be a complete wipeout. And it's all in your area of expertise. Some might say, the Hurricane Consortium could also lower their prices. But can the Hurricane Consortium just decide to lower prices at will? If they casually cut prices by 200,000 or 300,000 star coins, that's one thing. But if the T2 Hyena's price drops by more than 20% at once, Liaki wouldn't even need to deal with the Hurricane Consortium. The clients who just ordered the T2 Hound from the Hurricane Consortium will soon face a big setback. I bought your interstellar battleship, and now you're selling at a lower price? Are you trying to cheat us? So, the Hurricane Consortium is currently at a disadvantage in every way. This T2 Hound will completely fall from its top position when compared to the T2 Mastiff-class medium interstellar destroyer. How about it? Do you have confidence now to challenge the Hurricane Consortium? Zhao Chun looked at Liaki, unable to hide his excitement after she analyzed the data. Liaki's eyes sparkled like fireworks. Within 3 months, I will finish the production line for this T2 Mastiff class. By October, I will stock up on a batch of ships. And just when the latest batch of T2 Hounds from the Hurricane Consortium is released for sale, I will launch this T2 Mastiff-class medium interstellar destroyer at the same time. Zhao Chun smiled with satisfaction. Liaki's ambition is good. She dares to directly challenge the Hurricane Consortium. If she didn't have this ambition, Zhao Chun probably wouldn't have continued to invest heavily in developing this business talent. This collaboration on the Starship technology will be the same as before, 70% ours, 30% theirs, Zhao Chun said with a smile as he looked at Liaki. I'm looking forward to your show. Zhao Chun's image disappeared. But Liaki's excited mood couldn't calm down at all. She closed her eyes, imagining herself at the launch event of the T2 Mastiff class, standing on the scene, with the once popular T2 Hound right in front of her. All she needed to do was to bring down that starship, which was once out of reach, from its pedestal. Huff, huff, Liaki's breathing grew heavier. She never dared to think about such things before, but now she was so excited that her whole body seemed to boil with blood. The scene of the T2 Mastiff versus the T2 Hound. She couldn't wait to see it happen. After arranging Liaki's matters, Zhao Chun drove the T3 Blizzard-class light starship away from the Northern Star Academy, claiming he was heading back to the Xianglong star system. The Academy didn't think much of his plans. After all, Zhao Chun's news was everywhere in the Academy, and he truly couldn't stay there anymore. He had just been promoted from Baron to Viscount. Normally, a person in his position would return home to show off his achievements to the nobles in his territory. At this moment, the T3 Storm, which was supposed to return to the Xianglong star system, came back to the Xianglong base. First, a T2 Iron Hammer-class heavy star industrial ship was assigned to repair the T3 Storm completely. The T2 Bronze Eden-class starship Zhao Chun, Lilith, and Charlotte were sitting by the pond, fishing with their rods. The environment inside the T2 Bronze Eden starship was really nice, perfect for relaxing. Originally, Charlotte didn't want to come, but when she heard Zhao Chun mention fishing, she immediately prepared her shuttle. Now, Charlotte was staring anxiously at the fishing float on the pond, which showed no movement, revealing her sharp teeth in frustration. How are you preparing for the first group of core team members? Zhao Chun asked Lilith. Lilith placed her fishing rod in a holder at her feet and used her handheld terminal to project a hologram with a list of names and pictures. First, regarding the industrial ships, Annie is very talented. She has excellent craftsmanship skills, a natural talent, and good organizational abilities. She can definitely be the captain of an interstellar industrial ship in the future. There's also Jenny, a senior starship engineer. She may not control the big picture, but her starship skills are solid, so she's worth training further. There's also a half-bear race craftsman, who is currently the captain of the T2 Iron Hammer's second ship. We also have 4 other people, who are all vice captains, and can be trained for future leadership roles. After mentioning these technical talents, Lilith started talking about other skilled individuals. In my succubus clan, we also have some talented people. For example, Ailey, who is second only to me in learning ability. During the time I was away, she temporarily took over my duties and handled everything well. The few half-orcs here are combat experts and very suitable to be starship captains. While Lilith was speaking, Charlotte pointed at a picture of a beast girl and said, "White Wolf Girl. She's a very good fighter. We served together on a starship before." That's a strange way to address someone. At first glance, this wolf girl really has all her visible hair is white, and she looks a bit older than Charlotte. After hearing Lilith and Charlotte's introductions, Zhao Chun was very satisfied with the list. Good. Let's focus on developing these first. Training talented people is very important. Otherwise, Zhao Chun has too few capable people around him. "Commander, your fishing rod moved," Lilith suddenly shouted. Zhao Chun immediately pulled up his fishing rod, and soon a fish over 50 centimeters long was caught. "I'm catching one here too." Lilith's line also had a bite at the same time. Zhao Chun and Lilith both caught fish, but Charlotte's hook didn't move at all. "It's because there are too few fish in this pond," Charlotte muttered, making excuses for herself. "Not enough? Or too many?" Zhao Chun looked at his bucket, which was full of fish. Even Lilith had several fish. Only Charlotte's bucket was still empty. Charlotte looked at Zhao Chun's bucket, then at her own, and suddenly her fur bristled. She threw down her fishing rod and grabbed her laser gun, aiming at the pond. It was as if she was about to vent her anger on that cursed pond. "Any fish you catch will be deducted from your meals next month," Zhao Chun said, as if casting a spell that froze Charlotte in place. Charlotte slowly lowered her laser gun, glaring at the pond with a resentful look, as if she was planning to drain that cursed water someday. "Let's have grilled fish today," Zhao Chun suggested, looking at the full bucket of fish. Lilith said, "I happen to know how to grill fish. I'll handle it." "Okay, I'll help you," Zhao Chun said beside her. Only Charlotte remained silent, crouching next to Zhao Chun's bucket, staring at the fish inside. "Charlotte, what are you doing?" Zhao Chun asked, noticing she was the only one not doing anything. Charlotte hesitated, then pointed to her mouth. "I can eat." Zhao Chun and Lilith exchanged a look, both amused and helpless. "Charlotte, let me teach you how to grill fish." Lilith pulled Charlotte along, telling her to hold the prepared fish and place it on the campfire to cook. After half an hour, what was once a small white tiger had become a large black tiger. "What's wrong with you?" Zhao Chun asked, carrying some seasonings as he returned. He looked at Charlotte, who was covered in dirt and dust, and tried not to laugh. Charlotte spat out a mouthful of ash and stayed silent for a long time, still holding a charred fish. "Charlotte, you should wait here while we finish cooking," Lilith said, realizing that Charlotte was only good at fighting and not much else. If Charlotte kept cooking fish, there probably wouldn't be enough for everyone. Finally, with Lilith's help, they finished preparing a big meal of grilled fish. "I'm planning to leave in 3 days. Charlotte will come with me. I'll take a T3 Storm Snow ship and leave. Lilith, you stay here to manage our future building work. I've also told Warner to go back to the Dragonstar system. She will find a suitable planet there to settle the dwarf clan. During this time, Lilith, you should come up with a plan for building industries on a planet. Then, the male dwarfs and their families will work on that planet. Female dwarfs who are willing and capable can work on our T2 interstellar industrial ship." Zhao Chun began assigning tasks. Because of the previous requirement for luck, Zhao Chun's fleet can't have any men. But if you go to the dwarf tribe, you can't just bring female dwarfs, right? They would be with their families. So, the male dwarfs also need a place to stay. Since they can't stay on the starship, they will be sent to the Dragonstar system. This way, they can help build some basic industries there. "Yes," Lilith replied without complaint, accepting the command without question, even though she wondered why the commander only recruited female dwarfs. A few days later, after confirming with Liyaki that her contact had arrived, she brought 5 T2 Reindeer-class heavy star transport ships to the designated location and waited. Zhao Chun's T3 Storm Snow Light Star Cruiser also set out. Annie looked at the bright T3 Storm Snow Bridge and gaped in amazement. Although she had built several T2-class interstellar warships, this was her first time experiencing being on a T3-class starship during a voyage, especially in such an important place as the bridge. She was like a curious child, looking around here and there. Based on our travel route, we will go to the star gate in the northern star system, then pass through several star gates to reach the border star system star gate, and then head to the edge of that system. There, we will meet the fleet arranged by Liaki to receive the T2 vessel, the Deer. After that, we will continue to the Reef Star domain. The whole journey is expected to take at least 15 days, following your instructions. Besides the 5 T2 Deer ships that need replacement crew members, we have also brought as much food as possible, said a girl with twin ponytails and golden hair, standing next to Zhao Chun, looking a bit nervous. This was the person Lily recommended earlier for training. Since Lily stayed at the Xianglong base this time, she suggested Zhao Chun bring AI Li along for some experience. Yes, let's do as you say, Zhao Chun agreed. The preset course for the warp engine is complete. We will now enter the acceleration phase, and in 10 minutes, we will switch to warp travel. All crew members must enter deep sea mode within 10 minutes. At this moment, AI Li's voice echoed throughout the starship. Meanwhile, sleep pods appeared on the bridge. Zhao Chun looked at one sleep pod nearby and almost couldn't help but laugh. It was a small sleep pod, only about a meter tall. It looked like a juvenile sleep pod that had come out to work. This sleep pod naturally belonged to Annie. The size of sleep pods can be adjusted automatically based on the user's body size. As the ship prepared to enter deep sea mode, the starship system scanned the personnel on the bridge and arranged each person into their own sleep pod based on their position. Annie didn't think much about it. She walked into her own sleep pod and waved to Zhao Chun next door, saying, "Commander, good night." Then, Annie closed her eyes as if she was about to sleep. This Annie is too naive. If all the dwarves in her tribe are like her, then they are too easy to deceive and get along with. Zhao Chun entered his sleep pod. Later, T3 Blizzard will use the Stargate in the Northern Star System. Using the Stargate means there's no need to worry about revealing T3 Blizzard's location. From outside, this T3 Blizzard now looks completely different from before. The entire spaceship is painted gray, with some areas camouflaged. Before departure, Annie followed Zhao Chun's instructions to make the T3 Blizzard look more like a less popular T3 interstellar cruiser from the market. So, from the outside, it's hard for anyone to recognize this spaceship as the legendary T3 Blizzard. No one would know that Zhao Chun is quietly about to leave the Starshine Empire. Thinking about leaving the Empire for the first time, Zhao Chun feels a little excited. A few days later, in a border star system at the junction of the North Wind and Chu River Star regions, a gray interstellar battleship emerges from the Stargate. It quickly enters hyperdrive again and heads toward the edge of the star system. After some time, the gray battleship slowly comes to a stop. All personnel on the bridge, return to your stations within 1 minute and check the ship's data. All personnel, return to your stations within 3 minutes and stand by. Ailey quickly wakes from her sleep pod and issues the orders. Zhao Chun looks at Charlotte beside him. Charlotte says, "We are trying to contact the transfer target now." After waiting for more than 10 minutes, they finally receive a signal on the communication channel. It's a jumble of garbled text, but to Zhao Chun, it's not that simple. It's the secret code given by Liaki for meeting with the space pirates. Zhao Chun inputs another string of garbled text and sends it out. Soon, they establish contact and confirm the transfer location. The T3 Blizzard, with its high speed, quickly reaches the designated spot. Radar detects 10 interstellar warships ahead, all T2 level. Charlotte looks at the ship's radar. Although it was a normal handover, as a general, she was always ready for battle and prepared for any possible situation. At this moment, a video call window appeared. After a brief blur, a woman wearing a half-mask with a ghostly face appeared against a dim background of the ship's bridge. The woman wore a dark red top, and her half-mask covered half of her face. The visible side of her face was fair-skinned and had strange black patterns that looked like writing or symbols. But Zhao Chun didn't recognize them. All 5 T2 reindeer ships are here. They are equipped with artificial nutrition packs for 20,000 people for a month, along with some basic supplies. As agreed, once everything is confirmed, my team will leave these 5 T2 reindeer ships, and your crew will take over the starship, she said. Her voice was a little hoarse, whether naturally or as part of her disguise. Zhao Chun couldn't tell. Her eyes were bright red, which was very rare. Her gaze was cold, similar to how Zhao Chen first saw Charlotte. Zhao Chen noticed that Charlotte's tail had stopped moving and was held in a special curve. He knew this was her alert state, keeping her highly cautious. She was wary of the woman with the ghostly face and red eyes. Okay, Zhao Chen replied. Since Li Yaqi said she could fully trust this person, Zhao Chen wouldn't act rashly until she showed any threatening behavior. A few shuttles then left the hangars of the 5 T2 reindeer ships. These ships were now running only at low power automatically. Next, Zhao Chen's crew began boarding the shuttles to enter the 5 T2 reindeer ships. During this time, Zhao Chen also noticed Charlotte quietly instructing the crew members boarding the ships to be careful and to thoroughly search the ships for any hidden dangers. The entire handover process lasted about half an hour. After Zhao Chen's crew officially took control of the 5 T2 reindeer ships, he looked at the girl with the ghostly face and red eyes. Handing over complete, he said, "Goodbye." The girl with the mask and red eyes replied coldly. "Later, we might work together again. May I ask your name?" Zhao Chen inquired. "Later, there will be some shipments related to cooperation with Li Yaqi's side, so we might need to contact those people first to understand them. We are the Bloody Mary mercenary group. As for my name, only the dead know it. Are you sure you want to hear it?" The girl with the ghost mask and red eyes said coldly. Watching the so-called Bloody Mary mercenary group's fleet leave, Charlotte's tail finally relaxed beside Zhao Chen. "It seems you're very interested in that red-eyed girl," Zhao Chen said. Charlotte replied seriously, "That girl is very dangerous." Zhao Chen pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. Her gaze really does resemble Charlotte's. "All right, now's not the time to think about that. Since we've received these 5 T2 Reindeer-class heavy starships, we can start preparing to leave," Zhao Chen said. After receiving the 5 T2 Reindeer ships, the next step is to continue heading to the Dark Reef star domain to pick up people. Annie looked quite excited, as if she hadn't been back to her hometown for half a year. When she was kidnapped long ago, she probably never thought she would have a chance to return home. And she also brought a completely unimaginable opportunity to her people. "Our next destination is the Dark Reef star domain," Zhao Chen ordered. Most of the stars in this star region are in their old age, and their brightness appears very dim. This makes the environment in each star system quite dark, and on some remote planets, it's dark all day long, making life very harsh. But perhaps because of this harsh environment and resource scarcity, the Dark Reef star domain has become a battleground that neither the mechanical race nor the Star Glory Empire values. Both sides tend to avoid this star region. As a result, besides the native inhabitants, some interstellar races fleeing from other civilizations also appear here, creating a chaotic multi-race structure, which makes the order very disorderly. In simple terms, whoever has the larger and stronger fleet controls this place. 6 starships first arrived in this star region through an old star gate. Zhao Chen looked at the universe before him and had to admit that it was very different from the Stargate scenes in the various star systems of the Star Glory Empire. This place felt more like a forgotten corner. Most of the interstellar warships he saw were old models, mostly T1 and T2 ships. When Zhao Chen's T3 starship appeared, many crew members on the bridges of nearby ships looked over. People here are usually very alert to outsiders, and it was strange to see a T3 starship combined with 5 T2 transport ships. Fortunately, Zhao Chen brought a T3 starship, which made many people relax a little. "We're going to the nearest starport to refuel the starship and gather information about Annie's home planet," Zhao Chen said. There was a starport not far from the Stargate, which was very convenient. "Yes. Starting now, I will contact the command department of this starport and connect to the public channel," said Ali, the assistant secretary. Soon, they made contact with the starport. After agreeing on the docking fee, they arranged a berth for their ships. The T3 Storm and 5 T2 Reindeer ships slowly entered the starport. Compared to the starports Zhao Chen had visited before, this one was very old. You could see some damage that hadn't been repaired on the outside, and even some exposed electronic wiring. A few repair workers were working on the starport's exterior. All 6 ships docked smoothly at a berth. "Hello, this is G19 Starport. I am your host, ID 777. I am right below your starship." A heavily made-up woman appeared on Zhao Chen's video screen. Zhao Chen glanced at Ali, who pulled up the view from below the ship. Sure enough, He saw a glamorous woman in bright makeup standing there. Keep Storm ready for battle. I will take Annie down there, Zhao Chun instructed Charlotte. Charlotte nodded. After the ship docked, she didn't turn off the engines. Having been a rebel leader before, she had visited places like this many times. She clearly understands that in this environment, anything can happen, so she must not trust anyone. Zhao Chun took Annie and left the bridge, riding the spaceship's lift down slowly to the bottom. Hello, handsome and brave sir. Do you need anything? A fiery woman walked toward Zhao Chun, biting her lips seductively, and reached out to put her hand on his chest. But Zhao Chun avoided her. The fiery woman showed no change in her expression. She noticed Annie beside Zhao Chun and smiled mischievously. So, sir, you like this type, huh? I can arrange something for you. If any crew members on your spaceship need it, I can also provide the service. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Race, age, appearance, all can be chosen freely by you and your crew. She then raised her hand, releasing holographic photo albums showing women of various races. Zhao Chun immediately understood what she meant. Although such things happen in the star ports of the Starry Empire, they are usually done quietly. But here, they are straightforward, even bold enough to do it right in front of him. I want a batch of energy blocks. The quantity, Zhao Chun stated his request. Energy blocks are no problem. But since it's your first time here, do you know our trading rules? The fiery woman, unable to Zhao Chun, gave up and lit a cigarette, exhaling a cloud of low-quality smoke. You only accept physical goods, right? I trade with crystals, Zhao Chun said, tossing a bag of prepared crystals. Crystals are the hard currency in the universe. About 90% of minerals contain crystals. Crystals can be used to extract energy, made into power units for starships, or used as basic materials for building ships. In this lawless zone, if you use the Galactic Alliance's account funds, they might not accept it. Only crystals or other items of real value will be traded. Before coming here, Zhao Chun had prepared a batch of crystals on his spaceship. Sir, you're giving quite a lot, the fiery woman said, impressed by Zhao Chun's generosity. She looked at the crystals he paid with, her eyes shining with obvious intent. Zhao Chun immediately stopped the fiery woman from stepping forward and stated his purpose. I have some questions for you. Consider these extra charges as the fee for asking. A detailed star map of the Reef Star domain? That's not hard. I can find one for you. The fiery woman quickly provided the detailed star map Zhao Chun requested. Although called a detailed star map, it wasn't very professional, but it could roughly show the positions of each star system and some information within them. Annie, see if you can find where your hometown is. Zhao Chun showed Annie this star map of the Reef Star domain. Annie tiptoed to look at the star map. Seeing this, Zhao Chun slightly adjusted the holographic projection of the star map to make it easier for Annie to see. Here. It's here. Annie's home is right here. Annie suddenly pointed excitedly at a spot on the star map. Zhao Chun recorded this location. Are you heading to the third planet in the FY star system? I advise you to be careful. I heard there's a war there, the fiery woman said. War? Zhao Chun looked surprised. Annie immediately became worried, her face full of concern. The fiery woman didn't speak at this moment. Zhao Chun took out a small bag of crystal stones and tossed it to her. The fiery woman quickly smiled and said, I only heard about it. About 3 months ago, a mineral vein was discovered on the third planet of the FY star system, containing a large amount of special mineral resources. Although it might not compare to other mineral resources outside, in our Reef Star domain, it's like a treasure. And the Fire Lizard tribe, which has always regarded the FY star system as its territory, threatened the natives of that planet to leave 3 months ago. That planet is the private property of the Fire Lizard tribe. But how could such a demand be fulfilled? I heard that the main race on that planet is dwarves, and they strongly protested. Afterward, the Fire Lizard tribe began gathering its interstellar fleet to surround the planet, about a week ago. I heard that the dwarves' small fleet was completely destroyed and fallen. Now, the dwarves can only carry out some counterattacks on the planet's surface. However, facing the Fire Lizard tribe, defeat is only a matter of time. When she heard that her hometown had been attacked and the interstellar fleet had all been destroyed, her people fell into chaos. Annie looked worried and instinctively grabbed Zhao Chun's sleeve. At some point, she had started to trust and rely on this man around her without thinking. Can you give me detailed information about the fire lizard tribe? The more detailed, the better, Zhao Chen said, taking out a bag of crystal stones. The fiery woman, seeing the money, immediately got to work. Soon, she prepared the information Zhao Chen needed. Thank you for the information, Zhao Chen said after thanking the fiery woman, then took Annie back to the suspended ladder. The ladder returned to the starship, while the nearby cargo lift continued to transport the goods Zhao Chen ordered. T3 Storm-level light interstellar battleship. Bridge. What's going on? Charlotte saw Annie, who was clutching Zhao Chen's sleeve with red eyes. Before Zhao Chen could speak, Annie, with a crying voice, begged, Commander, please, save Annie's people. Annie will work hard in the future. Annie can give up those meals. Just eat nutritious food, as long as the commander can save Annie's people. Annie doesn't need to eat. Annie, overwhelmed with emotion, was already speaking incoherently. Zhao Chen patted Annie's head. Silly girl, how can you work without eating? Listen to me, no more crying. As long as you stop crying, I will find a way to save your people. Hearing this, Annie immediately stopped crying, but tears and mucus ran down her nose. She dared not move, looking very aggrieved. You're all mucus now. Go wash your face. I'll discuss with Charlotte how to save your people, Zhao Chen said, pinching Annie's cheek. Annie nodded, then turned around and walked towards a bathroom near the bridge, taking 3 steps and looking back. Charlotte looked at Zhao Chen. Zhao Chen raised his hand and opened the data file given by the fiery woman earlier. This is a local interstellar force in the Reef's star domain, mainly the fire lizard tribe. Annie's FY star system has been under the control of the fire lizard tribe for a long time. Before this, on the dwarf's planet, the dwarf people paid a regular share of their resources to the fire lizard tribe in exchange for protection. However, 3 months ago, the planet of the Annie tribe discovered a rich mineral vein, and the fire lizard tribe wanted to take it for themselves. Recently, they launched an attack on that planet and destroyed all of Annie's space fleet, leaving only the dwarf ground forces still resisting. Zhao Chen explained the current situation to Charlotte. Then he pointed to the intelligence about the fire lizard tribe. This is the information related to the fire lizard tribe. After hearing this, Charlotte carefully examined the intelligence report on the fire lizard tribe. The fire lizard tribe controls several star systems in the Dark Reef sector, including the FY star system. They claim to have a fleet of over 3,000 starships. In reality, about 80% of these are Tier 1 starships. Only around 500 starships can truly be called the fire lizard tribe's combat fleet. Among these 500 ships, 5 are Tier 3 starships, and the rest are Tier 2. It is because of these 5 Tier 3 starships that the fire lizard tribe has the power to control these star systems and to be a small dominant force in the Dark Reef sector. Do you think we can handle this? Zhao Chen asked Charlotte. Charlotte raised her hand, activated the virtual projections of the star systems, and marked the system where the Annie tribe is located. Based on the information we have now, the fire lizard tribe has mobilized a total of 300 starships to attack the Annie planet. Out of these, only 60 are Tier 2 starships, and 1 is a Tier 3 starship that pose a real threat. Although the number seems large, overall, our Tier 3 blizzard can handle them, Charlotte said confidently. But there is a problem. The fire lizard tribe will likely send more ships later. If they send half of their fleet to attack, we can still manage the fight. The real problem is if they also need to protect their own planet, which makes things tricky. If the fire lizard fleet bypasses the Tier 3 blizzard and directly attacks Annie's planet, it would be very risky. Try to contact Lilith's side, Zhao Chen said seriously. These dwarves are his prized possessions, and he won't allow any mistakes. It seems the system agrees, as it has issued a mission. Mission: defeat the fire lizard fleet invading Annie's homeland. Difficulty: sea level reward. 5 mission points and 2,000 credits penalty. Deduct 2,000 credits. Third planet of the FY star system on the planet's near orbit. Many spaceship wrecks can be seen, along with the bodies of dwarf soldiers among the debris. Nearby, a hovering starship fleet is present, consisting of about 200 or 300 ships. At the center is a massive T3 class starship, with smaller T2 and T1 ships around it. The smaller ships look insignificant compared to the T3, like children compared to an adult. All these ships are painted with a bright red lizard emblem. These are all starships of the fire lizard race. Inside the flagship's bridge of the fire lizard race, a star being with red-scaled skin, standing on two legs, with a tail behind, and a lizard head on top, sits in the captain's chair. Most of the crew on the bridge look similar. This is the fire lizard race. The fire lizard commander looks at several images before him, showing the ground battlefield on this planet. He sees several T-1 starships entering the planet, deploying many combat mechs and ground troops. With control of the air from the T-1 ships, they launch continuous attacks on the resisting dwarf soldiers. These weak dwarves dare to resist our mighty lizard warriors. The fire lizard commander sneers at the scene of dwarf soldiers fighting with various weapons. Commander, look at the pain on these dwarves' faces when they die. Let the entire FY star system see what happens to those who oppose us fire lizards. The excited fire lizard deputy says. The fire lizard commander snorted coldly, saying, if we didn't want to destroy the mineral veins on this planet and the industrial facilities of those dwarves, I would have already ordered my fleet to carry out orbital bombardments, turning these dwarves to ash. When we control this planet, the dwarves here will become our slaves, working their whole lives to mine the planet's riches, the fire lizard's deputy added. The fire lizard commander narrowed his eyes and said, once we mine the resources on this planet and strengthen our fire lizard race, our leader said we can take over nearby star systems and become one of the rulers of this dark star region. These fire lizards were already dreaming of a bright future. They looked at the struggling dwarves on the planet as if they were just tiny ants. Inside the dwarf command center, report, the third shelter has fallen. We have 30,000 of our people controlled by the fire lizards. Report, the 9th Ground Combat Squad has been wiped out. Report, the fighter mech squad's coordinates were exposed, and they were bombed from above by the fire lizard T-2 starship, resulting in total destruction. One bad news after another spread through the underground command center. A middle-aged dwarf sat in his chair, bandages wrapped around his shoulders from injuries. Leader, should we still resist? Asked a weary dwarf nearby. No resistance? Do you want us to become slaves under those lizards? The dwarf leader replied angrily. But, how can we resist? Our star fleet has been destroyed, and only these pathetic ground troops remain. It's just a matter of time before they are wiped out by the starships above, another dwarf said helplessly. We've asked for help from other dwarf tribes in the Dark Star region. As long as we hold on until reinforcements arrive, we still have hope, said one dwarf. Huh, reinforcements? The other dwarf tribes are no stronger than us. Did you see that T-3 starship of the Fire Lizard fleet? Which dwarf tribe has a T-3 starship? Said a dwarf who had lost his fighting spirit, dismissively. Hearing this, many dwarves felt unhappy, but they knew it was the truth in their current situation. The dwarf leader picked up a laser gun nearby and said through clenched teeth, "You're right. This is indeed our current situation. If you want to surrender, I won't stop you. But as the leader, I cannot give in to these invaders. I cannot lead my people to become their slaves. I would rather die fighting than live on my knees." That's right. We dwarves are brave warriors. We are willing to fight and die with our leader. Kill those lizard creatures, some young dwarves shouted loudly. But others remained silent. Pass my words to all the refuge bases. If anyone wants to surrender, I won't stop them. But I, Bakeen, as the dwarf leader, will fight with my honor against the fire lizards, even if this battle is doomed to fail, said Leader Bakeen firmly. After making the final battle preparations, Leader Bakeen went to a small room inside the refuge. In this room were his wife and 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls. The oldest was just an adult, and the youngest was only 10 years old. They all crowded on the only bed in the room, looking scared but sleeping. Bakeen, his wife, looked at her husband with mixed feelings. Our ground troops in the refuge have mostly lost their fighting ability. The final battle is coming. I will lead the last fighting team to fight. We might only hold out for 1 to 3 days before losing the refuge. I have a shuttle hidden here. If I die, you must take our children and find a way to leave. The farther, the better. Bakeen handed his wife a bronze key. His wife held the bronze key, looked at her husband, and begged, "Come with us. I'm sorry, but I am the leader of our tribe. I must fight until the very last moment," Bakeen said, gently touching his wife's face. He looked at his sleeping children and added, "Unfortunately, I couldn't find Annie, our child, before. Although I don't know where she went, perhaps it's better than staying here. I just hope she can live well outside." The wife holds her husband, wanting to cry but worried about disturbing the children. She bites her lip tightly, sniffing and trying not to make a sound. "Take good care of our children. If there's a chance, find Annie," Leader Bajin says, then decisively leaves the room. Only 5 sleeping children and a wife with tears on her face are left behind. As Leader Bajin predicted, all ground combat units outside the refuge base were lost. Few remaining battle mechs lie on the ground, some with fallen dwarf soldiers inside, others still alive and crying out in pain. Above, starships shaped like fire lizards hover, all guns aimed at the underground refuge base. The base's entrance is protected by the mountain above, serving as cover. This will be their last line of defense. Leader Bajin, wearing a single-person exoskeleton armor and holding a laser gun, hides in a shelter, quietly watching the approaching fire lizard soldiers. The first thing in sight are the fire lizard battle mechs. 10, 20, 50. Around the mechs are some fire lizard soldiers. Looking at their fighting power, the dwarf team has fewer than 500 soldiers, with only 2 T2 mechs and 15 T1 mechs remaining. This is all the fighting force left in their refuge. Get ready for battle. We don't have many bullets. Let those lizards come in before we fight. Close combat with the enemy, and their starships won't dare to support from above. Bajin gives the final battle order. He pulls a photo watch from his exoskeleton collar. Inside is a family photo. It shows him, his wife, and their 6 children. The brightest smile is on their oldest child, who is also their favorite and most sensible kid. It's a pity that she disappeared 6 months ago. Annie, Chief Bakken gently touches the photo of the girl smiling brightly. He places the photo on his chest and grips his laser gun tightly. "Chief, enemies are approaching," a dwarf soldier nearby warns. "Open fire," Bakken roars. He fires his laser gun repeatedly, and the weapon's power is clearly stronger than the one used by the fire lizard. These guns have been upgraded and improved by dwarf craftsmen, making them much more effective. However, they are still outnumbered. The dwarf soldiers around Chief Bakken begin to fall one by one. Outer space outside the 3rd planet of the FY star system. The fire lizard interstellar fleet is waiting to hear the battle's end. But before they get any news, their starship radar sounds an alert. It detects a fast-moving energy object approaching their position. What's going on? Is it a starship? The fire lizard commander looks at the bright dot rushing toward them on the radar. Soon, the answer appears. The bright dot's main body is now within the range of their deep space telescope. Report. A gray interstellar battleship is heading toward us. The fire lizard deputy officer displays an image. The image shows a gray interstellar battleship. What kind of starship is this? The commander frowns. Based on our database, this ship looks about 70% similar to a T3 Hummingbird-class medium star cruiser, the deputy officer reports. The commander glances at it, not thinking much, assuming it's a T3 Hummingbird-class cruiser. In the asteroid field, many old starships are heavily modified to boost their combat power, which can make their appearance very different from the original. Immediately warn this unknown starship. This is our fire lizard territory. Any starship entering this area is like declaring war on us. The commander orders sternly. The fire lizard officer swallowed hard and pointed to the location of the T3 interstellar cruiser. That ship has entered our combat zone. The fire lizard commander looked surprised. He coughed and then said, "Warn them to leave immediately. Otherwise, we will destroy it." Suddenly, one of the T2 interstellar warships in the fire lizard fleet exploded, turning into a brief fireball. The fire lizard officer looked at the commander. The fire lizard commander slapped him. "What are you standing there for? Order the fleet to start fighting. Destroy that unknown T3 cruiser. They are now directly attacking your ship, and their attitude is very clear. Although we don't know where this T3 cruiser came from, there's no need to hesitate now." The fire lizard fleet began firing continuously at the T3 cruiser, but it had a star shield in front, so the attacks couldn't harm it. Meanwhile, the fire lizard fleet saw their T1 and T2 ships being destroyed one after another. Especially the T1 ships, which almost exploded instantly upon impact. Enemy ship is about to enter our firing range. The Arkham-class medium cluster laser main cannon is ready, the officer reported. The Fire Lizard commander sneered. A mere T3 cruiser dares to shout at us. This is an Arkham T3. Just one shot, and you'll be gone. Just as the T3 cruiser was about to enter the firing range of the Arkham cannon, an unexpected scene happened. The T3 cruiser suddenly turned away. Is it scared? The Fire Lizard commander was stunned for a moment. Then he realized that the cruiser was bypassing their main fleet and heading straight toward the third planet of the FY star system. The cruiser's speed didn't slow down at all, like a comet entering the atmosphere. Its bright red glow was so large that people on the planet could see it clearly. The Fire Lizard T1 ships hovering in the air hadn't reacted yet, staring blankly at the huge object that suddenly appeared. Their ships, only a few meters long, were insignificant compared to the nearly 1 kilometer-long cruiser. All starships, attention! An unknown T3 interstellar cruiser has entered our combat zone. Attack immediately upon detection. At that moment, the battle alert sounded on the bridge of the T1 interstellar warships. In that instant, the captains of the T1 ships had only one thought. Wow, why didn't you say so earlier? The next second, the massive starship's close-range guns fired, destroying all the surrounding T1 starships, which fell to the ground like burning insects. At the same time, a hatch opened on the underside of the T3 Blizzard-class light starship. 50 ready-made Blizzard-class star drones hung inside. These drones, like upside-down bats, fell from the hatch, spreading their wings mid-air and unfolding into their full form. They then launched an attack on the nearby Fire Lizard-type starships. The Fire Lizard ground forces, who were attacking the last refuge of the dwarf tribe, were now staring blankly at what was overhead. A battle mech lifted its head, watching as a T2 starship, which had delivered it here, turned into a ball of fire and fell to the distant ground. Inside the mech, the Fire Lizard pilot thought, "It was all fine when we came, but now, we can't go back?" The dwarf soldiers at the defensive line also noticed strange movements outside. Meanwhile, the fierce enemy firepower had weakened considerably and gradually stopped. What's going on? Why aren't the lizards attacking anymore? A dwarf soldier slowly peeked out from behind cover, looking outside. He saw that where the Fire Lizard soldiers had been, there was now no sign of anyone. Strange, where did they go? The dwarf soldier wondered, puzzled. Some dwarf soldiers cautiously hid in cover, warning, "Be careful, it might be a trick by the lizards." Trick? Their brains aren't even as big as my. A dwarf soldier scoffed, then volunteered to the clan leader. "Leader, I'll go outside and check what's happening. I'll inform you if I find anything." Chief Bajin nodded, then handed a metal shield covered with bullet holes to the dwarf warrior. The dwarf warrior slowly stepped out of the shelter holding the shield, soon reaching a spot where he could see the sky. He stood still, looked up at the sky, and remained silent for a long time. "Little tree, what's going on outside?" "Little tree?" Chief Bajin kept calling on the communication channel, but apart from some heavy breathing, there was no reply. Finally, the dwarf warrior called Little Tree regained his senses. He swallowed hard and said, "Chief, you should come out and see for yourself. It's an interstellar battleship. A T3 class interstellar battleship." A T3 interstellar battleship? Could it be the T3 Arkham-class medium battleship from the Fire Lizard tribe that has come directly? Chief Bajin was very confused. He held his weapon and stepped out of the shelter, walking over to the dazed dwarf warrior named Ash. When he looked up at the sky, he understood why Ash looked so blank. A T3 interstellar battleship was hovering in the air. Its close-range guns kept firing, causing the nearby Fire Lizard battleships to fall one after another, as if it was raining debris. The scattered attacks from the Fire Lizard ships couldn't damage the battleship's armor even when they hit directly. Besides, dozens of unmanned drones attacked the ground combat mechs and the ground troops of the Fire Lizard tribe. The once unstoppable ground forces of the Fire Lizard tribe were now falling in large groups. That T3 battleship seemed like a divine weapon, sweeping away the Fire Lizard forces on this planet. What is happening? More and more dwarf soldiers came out, staring blankly at the sky. Suddenly, a loud explosion sounded overhead. A fireball fell right in front of the dwarf soldiers. It was a T1 Fire Lizard interstellar battleship. Among them, a Fire Lizard soldier staggered out. Just as the dwarf soldiers became alert, a barrage of bullets instantly turned that fire lizard soldier into minced meat. The dwarf soldiers stared blankly at the hovering drones above their heads. They could clearly see the terrifying machine guns. They swallowed hard, not daring to move at all. As long as that interstellar drone had any idea, it could crush them into meat paste instantly. The interstellar drone seemed to scan them briefly, then turned away and continued to clear the surrounding fire lizard soldiers. That scared me to death. I think I almost peed my pants. My pants feel cold and wet. This interstellar drone is definitely a T3 level. Its firepower is so fierce, it can easily destroy a T1 interstellar battleship. That battleship looks like a T3 cruiser, right? Chief Pekin looked at the battleship and shook his head. No, that's not a cruiser. It's probably a battleship-class cruiser. Just then, the dwarf soldiers saw the battleship quickly fly over their heads. After dropping dozens of small black balls, it headed back out into space, breaking through the atmosphere. The dozens of black spheres kept getting bigger in the dwarf soldiers' view. Finally, loud crashes sounded as they hit the ground. Some dwarf soldiers lost their footing and fell to the ground. And those black spheres finally revealed their true form. They were giant interstellar combat mechs. Chief Pekin looked nervously at these black interstellar mechs. He didn't know where these mysterious combat suits and the strange T3 battleship came from. But he knew one thing for sure. Both the battleship and the combat mechs were cutting-edge technology, far beyond what the Fire Lizard tribe could reach. Hey, we're on the ground now. No need to be afraid. You can open your eyes. A male voice came from above one of the interstellar combat mechs. At that moment, the dwarf soldiers noticed a man standing on the shoulder of the black mech, wearing a single-person exoskeleton combat armor. Beside him, there were small children, only as tall as his waist. The children also wore smaller exoskeleton combat armor and clung tightly to the man's legs, not daring to let go. Are we really on the ground now? A familiar female voice came from inside the children's armor. Chief Pekin's expression froze. Really? When you reach the ground, can the commander still fool you? The commander just tricked Annie earlier. Said jumping down isn't scary at all. Now Annie feels like she's going to from being scared. From now on, Annie won't listen to the commander anymore. Big liar. It's not like you said you were worried about your parents' safety and wanted to come down quickly to see them. Annie can also ride the shuttle. All right, hurry and go down. Those should be your people. May I ask, who is the leader of the dwarf clan, Pekin? Or, can any of you contact the leader of the Pekin clan? Zhao Chun, holding the little one beside him, jumped to the ground. Then he asked the dwarf soldiers in front of him. The T2 Black Knight-class light starfighter armor began to be alert, ready to eliminate any fire lizard units they detected. I am. The Pekin clan leader trembled as he stepped forward. He looked at the child whose face was hidden under a helmet with some disbelief. That voice earlier. It couldn't be wrong. And that name. Annie. The Pekin clan leader looked blankly at the child in front of him, preparing to remove the helmet from her head. Oh, Commander. Sir, this helmet can't be taken off. The child held her helmet with both hands, as if trying to pull out a carrot, but no matter how hard she tried, it wouldn't budge. Zhao Qin was a bit speechless. Could it be that this guy's intelligence and talent are all used on technical stuff? But that doesn't seem right, since the exoskeleton combat armor for individual soldiers is also a technological product. Zhao Qin reached out and pressed a button on Annie's neck. The helmet around her head automatically split open, revealing her face. Annie, it's really Annie. The Pekin clan leader stepped forward trembling, his hands shaking all over. Even though he had never shed a tear in battles where death was certain, the Pekin clan leader was now crying openly. Dad. Annie looked at her father with some emotion. She thought she would never see her family again in her life, but now they were standing in front of her. She was so excited she wanted to rush into her father's arms. The next moment, she fell flat on the ground, slipping and stumbling. Cough, cough, cough. Annie spat out the dirt in her mouth, looking helplessly at her trembling legs, which refused to obey after jumping from a high place. She looked at the commander with a sad expression. Zhao Qin looked away. This wasn't his problem. He remembered the first time he landed in this way. His legs hadn't gone weak then. Annie, are you okay? Leader Bajin hurried over to help his beloved daughter, whom he had been thinking about for over half a year. I'm fine. I just got a little shaky when I landed, Annie said with a small smile as she stood up. Leader Bajin looked at Annie carefully and pinched her chubby cheek. Annie, I thought you would have had a tough time outside these past 6 months, but you seem to have gained some weight. She had been eating 5 big meals a day at the spaceship restaurant, 3 times the normal amount, so it's no wonder she gained weight. Strangely, despite eating so much, Annie only became slightly rounder. With her physique, many female crew members admired her. Zhao Chen watched this father and daughter reunion quietly. Although he didn't want to interrupt their joyful moment, the current situation was urgent. He stepped forward and said, Leader Bajin, the happiness of your reunion can wait a moment. We need to focus on the immediate problem. Many of our dwarf people are still under threat from the fire lizard tribe. Leader Bajin wiped his tears and looked at the human man who had suddenly appeared from the sky. May I ask who you are? I'll introduce myself. I am Commander Zhao Chun of the Shadow Dragon Fleet. He is the one who saved me. Annie briefly explained her past experiences. Hearing that Zhao Chun bought Annie from traders, Leader Bajin was very happy and quickly said, Thank you so much, Commander. Let's get to the point. I need you to tell me the locations of all the surviving members of your dwarf tribe. I will send in mechs and interstellar drones to rescue them step by step. At the same time, try to contact the dwarfs as much as possible to ensure your safety. If they are surrounded or threatened by the fire lizard tribe, consider surrendering temporarily. I will rescue them. When he said the last part, Zhao Chen's expression was very serious. He looked at the bodies of the dwarf soldiers fighting around him, filled with intense anger. Although he had only just met the fire lizard race, Zhao Chen's impression of them was extremely bad. These lizards had actually killed his future technical staff. Every one of those was a treasure. Okay, I will pass the message along. Clan leader Bakin nodded repeatedly, then cautiously reminded, Commander, the fire lizard star fleet is not to be underestimated. They have a T3 Arkham-class medium-star battleship. It was because of this T3 starship that they could destroy our dwarf star fleet so quickly. Zhao Chen looked up at the clouds above, as if a hole had been punched through them. That was the direction the T3 Blizzard had just left. That T3 Arkham will soon be history. Clan leader Bakin was stunned. He quietly asked his daughter, Annie, how many starships did the fleet commander bring this time? Annie raised one finger. 100? Bakin felt more at ease. If it was 100 ships, led by that T3 star cruiser, it shouldn't be a big problem. Annie shook her head. 10? Bakin frowned slightly. 10 was acceptable. They should all be high-quality starships. Annie shook her head again and said something that made her father gape in surprise. Just one. The same T3 Blizzard. One ship? Bakin's eyes widened. Dad, don't underestimate this T3 starship of the commander. It's super powerful. Annie crossed her arms, as if she had built that starship herself. Charlotte, everything okay on your side? Zhao Chun kept communication with Charlotte on the bridge of the T3 Blizzard. Commander, don't worry. These guys are not enough to fill my teeth, Charlotte's confident voice replied. With Charlotte saying that, Zhao Chun felt very reassured. Next, he planned to recruit some staff. Zhao Chun smiled as he looked at clan leader Bakin, his eyes almost squinting. Then he looked at the dwarf soldiers behind Bakin, all short but strong and healthy. T3 Storm Snow-class light interstellar battleship bridge Charlotte stood in front of the captain's chair, where Commander Zhao Chun usually sat. Before her was a full holographic display of the battlefield. One interstellar battleship faced 300 or 400 other interstellar ships. The Fire Lizard fleet had already assembled. From a top-down view, the T3 Storm Snow was backed by a planet behind it, facing the encircling Fire Lizard fleet in a web-like formation. Vice Commander, the enemy fleet's starship information has been fully scanned, said Ellie, reporting on the enemy fleet. The enemy has 1 T3 interstellar battleship, 57 T2 battleships, and the rest are T1 ships. The T3 battleship is an Arkham class, and the T2 ships are. Ellie continued. Charlotte interrupted her directly, her eyes fixed only on the T3 Arkham. Apart from this T3 battleship, the names of the others don't matter. They're just a bunch of scrap metal, Charlotte said coldly. Charlotte quickly issued a series of battle commands. The T3 Storm Snow will head straight toward the T3 Arkham at full speed. The bow cannon is on standby. The main and secondary guns will target all T-2 battleships within firing range. The closed defense guns are ready to intercept enemy fire. Interstellar missiles are prepared for launch. Yes, Ellie, the secretary, immediately relayed Charlotte's orders. The crew on the bridge quickly got busy. Even facing an enemy fleet hundreds of times larger, they showed no fear. They had fought against millions of insects before, so this was nothing. The T-3 storm snow accelerated rapidly, going from a few dozen knots at departure to over 100 knots in moments, still increasing. What is that T-3 battleship trying to do? The Fire Lizard commander looked surprised at the T-3 Arkham rushing straight toward their fleet, feeling confused. Maybe it wants to break through head-on? Or carry out a decapitation plan? Guessed the Fire Lizard vice commander, trying to interpret the enemy's intentions. A mere medium-sized interstellar cruiser? The Fire Lizard commander burst into loud laughter, tears in his eyes. I've only heard of medium cruisers carrying out intercept, sniping, and harassment missions. I've never heard of anyone daring to use such a starship for a decapitation plan. Do they think we have so many starships just for show? Do they think my T-3 Acom is just for display? Ignore it. Let it come at us. I was just thinking, if it tries to run, our starships might not catch it. Now it's coming right to us. This wreck of a T-3 starship could sell for a lot later. The Fire Lizard commander stuck out his long tongue and licked his lips. His deputy didn't think much of it. After all, according to the database, this was just a medium-sized interstellar cruiser. Its fragile hull armor couldn't withstand such a barrage from many starships, especially with the T-3 Acom stationed here. Soon, the T-3 Blizzard, traveling at 210 star speed and protected by a front shield, charged into the Fire Lizard fleet's encirclement. The surrounding T-2 and T-1 Fire Lizard starships opened fire, but an unexpected scene unfolded. This so-called T-3 medium cruiser showed an extremely terrifying interception ability. Its hull-mounted 72 medium closed defense guns kept firing, intercepting attacks from the Fire Lizard starships, mainly blocking T-2 Fire Lizard ships. The interception rate against T-2 ships reached up to 90%. Against T-1 ships, it was less than 50%. The attacks from these T-1 ships hitting the T-3 cruiser only caused minor paint scratches, less than 20 centimeters deep. Strange. The armor strength of this cruiser doesn't seem right. The Fire Lizard commander quickly sensed something was off. At that moment, several T-2 Fire Lizard starships' attacks hit the T-3 cruiser. Surprisingly, they only left small dents, no more than 20 centimeters deep. This isn't the kind of armor a medium cruiser should have. The commander realized something was wrong. Report: enemy ship's forward weapon is preparing a cluster laser attack. The deputy officer reports. The Fire Lizard commander looks serious. This starship is strange, but now there is no choice. The T-3 medium-sized interstellar cruiser has entered the range of both starships' fire. Plus, the enemy ship's incredible speed makes it impossible to avoid this confrontation. I don't believe that a small T-3 medium cruiser can beat my T-3 Arkham, the Fire Lizard commander says firmly. Next, he orders his T-3 Arkham to fire its forward cannon. It's also a cluster laser weapon. A red laser beam shoots out and hits the enemy cruiser's forward star shield directly. I wonder how long this small medium cruiser can withstand my ship's forward cannon attack. Just as the Fire Lizard commander sneers, waiting for the enemy cruiser to suffer, the enemy's forward cannon also fires. A blue cluster laser hits his T-3 Arkham's star shield. One red and one blue laser clash, each attacking the other's star shield. The scene looks quite spectacular. Reminder. 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 The star shield is under attack. The star shield is under attack. The system voice of the shield system sounds. At first, no one paid much attention. After all, a small medium cruiser fighting a medium-sized battleship's forward cannon is obvious. Who has more power? But soon, things take a turn. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Commander, this is strange. Our starship's shield energy is dropping faster than it should. The deputy officer shouts nervously. The Fire Lizard commander also notices this. Their starship's shield energy is decreasing too quickly, unexpectedly fast. Based on the attack power, the enemy's forward cannon is still more powerful than ours. That's not a T-3 Hummingbird-class cruiser. It's a starship battleship. The deputy officer exclaims. The Fire Lizard commander's eyes widen. Even if it's a starship battleship, how can it compare to the firepower of a starship battleship's forward cannon? This has always been their common understanding. But at this moment, it was overturned. T-3 Snowstorm-class light interstellar battlecruiser. Bridge. Alert. Alert. My ship's star shield is under attack. My ship's star shield is under attack. Charlotte listened calmly to the warning tone, watching the red beams of concentrated laser fire flashing on the star shield. A disdainful smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The T-3 Arkham-class medium interstellar battlecruiser they used only carried a T-3 level medium concentrated laser cannon at the bow. But their T-3 Snowstorm was equipped with a T-3 level heavy concentrated laser cannon at the bow. Ignoring the technical differences between the two types of cannons, just the size difference puts them in different classes. If Commander Fire Lizard heard this news, he would surely curse. What kind of light interstellar battlecruiser installs a heavy concentrated laser cannon at the bow? This is blatant fraud. Prepare the 4-unit Starship missile launchers. Aim at the T-3 Arkham and launch 6 rounds, a total of 24 Starship missiles, Charlotte ordered. The 4-unit Starship missile launchers on the T-3 Snowstorm opened, and 4 Snowstorm light interstellar missiles were launched. They streaked with flames, beginning their hunt for the prey. The 4 missiles bypassed the T-3 Arkham-class medium interstellar battlecruiser's bow star shield, attacking the hull from several directions. Unbelievable. It's equipped with Starship missiles. Intercept. Intercept now, the Fire Lizard commander exclaimed. Starship missiles are a luxury, single-use weapon rarely seen on ships from remote and poor regions like theirs. The T-3 Arkham's close-in weapons fired in response, trying to intercept the 4 missiles. 1 missile was successfully intercepted and exploded some distance from the ship. The remaining 3 hit the hull armor of the T-3 Arkham. Warning! 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 Left side hull armor under attack. Remaining strength, 82%. Warning! 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 Right side hull armor under attack. Remaining strength, 79%. Warning! 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 The starboard secondary gun position was attacked, and 1 secondary gun was destroyed. The armor strength in this area remains at 71%. Commander Fire Lizard could hear the sound of the ship's armor being hit, and the entire bridge was shaking. He had completely changed his previous opinion of the T-3 Hummingbird-class medium interstellar cruiser. Didn't you say this starship was a T-3 Hummingbird? Tell me, when did the T-3 Hummingbird start carrying interstellar missiles? Commander Fire Lizard angrily grabbed the deputy officer by the neck. The deputy's tail trembled in fear. I only saw it from the ship system database analysis. The data said there was a 70% similarity. You saw it too at the time. Commander Fire Lizard's face darkened. He threw the deputy officer to the ground heavily. Bad news. Another wave of interstellar missiles is coming, the crew shouted nervously. He immediately looked at the screen, where 4 identical interstellar missiles were approaching. It was also visible that the launch tubes of the T-3 Starship had 4 more missiles ready to fire. It immediately ordered the ships around T-3 Arkham to intercept those missiles, and send the T-1 starships to charge forward and ram that T-3 Starship. Jump in. Jump in. Commander Fire Lizard roared hysterically. At this moment, the shield energy of his T-3 Arkham had dropped to 70%. Charlotte also noticed the enemy's plan and sneered. A mere T-1 starship trying to jump in? With that pathetic speed, can it even catch up? Even if they calculate the predicted trajectory based on their speed and arrive early, can those fragile T-1 starships withstand the close-range guns of the T-3 Blizzard? Don't bother with these scrap metal ships. Continue attacking the T-3 Arkham. As a former rebel commander, Charlotte understood the tactics of small interstellar forces well. Their military skills are usually weak, relying mostly on reckless courage, which can sometimes work. But there is a big flaw. Once their flagship is destroyed, their command system collapses, causing many of their starships to panic and flee. So, Charlotte focused her target on the T-3 Arkham ship. In the second round, 4 interstellar missiles were launched. 1 was intercepted, 2 hit the T-2 starship defending the T-3 Arkham, destroying 1 and severely damaging the other, while 1 hit the T-3 Arkham's hull. In the third round, 4 missiles were launched again. 2 hit and destroyed the defending T-2 starship, and 2 struck the T-3 Arkham's hull. In the 4th round, 4 missiles were launched. 1 was intercepted, 2 hit and heavily damaged the T-2 starship, and 1 struck the T-3 Arkham's hull. In the 5th round, 4 missiles were launched. 3 hit the defending T-2 starships, destroying 2 and heavily damaging 1, and 1 hit the T-3 Arkham's secondary gun position. In the 6th round, 4 missiles were launched. 2 hit the defending T-2 starships, and 2 struck the T-3 Arkham's hull. Warning! 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 The port side of the ship's armor has been breached in several areas. 6 compartments are affected, and emergency seals are activated. 12 crew members have been lost. Warning! 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 The star shield energy is at 37% remaining. The Fire Lizard commander looked at the enemy starship with a complex expression. It resembled a gray war god, with terrifying firepower and heavily armored hull. At this moment, the T-3 Arkham's cluster laser had stopped firing and was resetting to recharge. The next attack would occur in 300 seconds. The main and secondary guns on the ship kept firing at the T-3 Blizzard, but due to their direction, they could only target the star shield. Meanwhile, the enemy ship's cluster laser continued to attack. Despite being surrounded by a group of Fire Lizard starships, it remained calm, attacking fiercely and defending in an orderly manner. T-3 Blizzard-class light starship cruiser, bridge, warning, warning, warning. Star shield energy remaining at 47%. Report. Our main gun can continue firing for another 10 seconds before entering the cooldown reset phase. Resetting cooldown takes 300 seconds, reported the officer responsible for the main gun module. Charlotte looked at the data on the main and secondary guns. The main gun was in the cooldown reset phase, with the next strike scheduled in 20 seconds. The secondary gun was in standby mode. Secondary gun, stay on standby. Prepare for my command. The interstellar missile changed its attack direction and launched 3 more rounds, targeting the T-3 Arkham's star shield. Charlotte issued a new order. All subsequent interstellar missiles headed toward the star shield, hitting it one after another. Finally, the powerful beam from the T-3 Blizzard's main gun stopped its terrifying attack. However, the Lizard crew on the T-3 Arkham's bridge were not happy at all. They watched the star shield's energy drop to just a few units, feeling like a herd of wild horses running inside them. After another wave of missile strikes, the red single-digit number turned to 0. The Fire Lizard commander saw clearly through several display screens that all the main and secondary guns on the terrifying T-3 starship were now aimed at his T-3 Arkham. The Fire Lizard commander muttered in despair. Meanwhile, Charlotte calmly gave the order to fire. For 2,500 mm medium electromagnetic cannons. 16 medium pulse laser secondary guns. Target, the enemy fleet's flagship, the T-3 Arkham-class medium interstellar battleship. On the dwarf planet's first refuge base, after Zhao Qin's Black Knight mech squad and the interstellar drones cleared the area, all the Fire Lizard warriors and their starships were eliminated. At that moment, the clouds above suddenly parted. Everyone looked up at the sky. They saw a huge explosion, a blazing fireball that vanished quickly. That is, the T-3 Arkham-class medium interstellar battleship. Chief Pekin used a monocular to look into space. This telescope could see a certain range of the universe. He saw a burning, exploding starship. From its shape, he immediately recognized it as the T-3 Arkham. It was the culprit behind the destruction of their dwarf star fleet. Right now, this starship, like the one destroyed earlier, had become debris floating in space after the explosion. Well, clan leader Bajin swallowed hard and looked at Zhao Qin beside him with a hint of disbelief on his face. After seeing the final, last look of T-3 Arkham, he glanced again at the star battlefield, where wreckage of Fire Lizard clan starships was everywhere. That gray T-3 starship was like a deadly warrior, hunting down the remaining Fire Lizard clan starships. Because their flagship was destroyed, most of the remaining Fire Lizard starships fled in panic. Their flagship was gone, and the T-2 starships had been badly damaged or destroyed. The T-1 starships were even less significant. How could they continue fighting? Even the Fire Lizard starships in the sky above the planet started to flee. It seems this battle is over. Now, we need to quickly clean up the remaining Fire Lizard forces on this planet, Zhao Qin said to clan leader Bajin. Bajin nodded blankly. At the same time, Zhao Chun received the next battle plan from Charlotte. She thought there was no need to chase the remaining fire lizard fleet. The main reason was to save ammunition and supplies for the T-3 Blizzard-class light starship cruiser, since in this remote place, most weapons couldn't be replenished. Using them sparingly was best. Zhao Chun agreed with Charlotte's idea. About 3 hours later, the battle finally came to an end. Apart from the debris of starships floating near the planet's orbit and the hovering T-3 Blizzard, there were no other fire lizard starships left. The starship drones began returning to the mothership for supplies, and then continued attacking the ground forces of the Fire Lizard clan on the planet. We are the Dwarf Clan forces. Fire Lizard warriors, listen up. Your star fleet has been driven away, and your flagship T-3 Arkham has been destroyed. If you don't believe it, look up at the sky. Now, come out of your hiding places, put down your weapons, and surrender. This is your only choice, some starship drones kept shouting in the air. This was done in the name of the Dwarf Clan, as Zhao Chun didn't want to make too much noise. It worked quite well. Many Fire Lizard ground troops chose to surrender, dropping their weapons and being peacefully taken away to a designated open area. Report: the second refuge base has been retaken and is now under our control. Report: the Fire Lizard troops at the third refuge base have surrendered. We are beginning to take over the third refuge. The Fire Lizard troops at the fourth and fifth refuge bases are still resisting stubbornly. We will launch a surprise attack to eliminate these two groups. One video communication after another appeared before clan leader Bakjin, reporting the current situation. To reclaim the territory of the dwarf tribe, Zhao Chun mainly provided firepower support, but the personnel needed to be supplied by dwarf warriors, since Zhao Chun didn't have many people. At this moment, 5 T-2 reindeer-class heavy starships entered the planet's atmosphere and hovered in the air. Unmanned cargo shuttles began to shuttle back and forth between these starships and the ground, unloading cargo. What is this? Clan leader Bakjin looked at the large cargo boxes in front of him. Zhao Chun stepped forward, opened a cargo box, revealing stacks of nutritional meals inside. Seeing these nutritional meals, the dwarf warriors' eyes widened with amazement. The planet they were on lacked sufficient sunlight, and the soil was poor, making it hard to grow crops. Even if some natural crops or farmed animals were produced, they were usually traded to passing starship fleets or fire lizard tribes in exchange for nutritional meals. One natural food supply could feed hundreds or even over 1,000 people with nutritional meals. I think, after your recent battles, your supplies might be running low, so I brought some nutritional meals for you. Please distribute them, Zhao Chun said calmly. Clan leader Bakjin was overwhelmed with gratitude and tears in his eyes. Commander, I really don't know how to thank you. You not only brought back my daughter, but also prepared so many nutritional meals for us. Bakjin, I swear, if you ever need me, my life is yours. There's no need to be so formal. Just eat first, everyone. Take a good rest. Don't just stand there. Come and eat the nutritional meals. Zhao Chun warmly encouraged the dwarf warriors. The dwarf warriors immediately stepped forward and carried out all the nutritional meals from the cargo boxes. In addition to nutritional meals, there are other daily supplies and some basic medicines. These are all urgently needed resources for the dwarf people. Without these supplies, even if they survive the battle, tens of thousands of dwarfs could die afterward for various reasons. Soon, a campfire was lit. Warm nutritional meals were handed to the dwarfs, and many more were sent to the refuge base to feed even more dwarfs inside. Commander, clan leader Bakin personally carried a nutritional meal to Zhao Chun. Zhao Chun repeatedly waved his hand. I'm not hungry right now. You all eat first. Seeing Zhao Chun not eating, clan leader Bakin approached his daughter with a meal. Annie, eat quickly. You used to love these foods. Before, you even said there weren't enough meals. One meal has to be shared among 6 of you siblings. You always went to bed hungry. Annie looked at the meal with a strange expression. Annie isn't hungry either. Annie, why aren't you hungry? You used to eat 5 meals a day on the starship. Zhao Chun teased nearby. Yeah, hurry up and eat. Clan leader Bakin pressed the meal box into his daughter's hands. Annie looked at the meal in her hand and then at her father's expectant face. She could only take a bite. The plastic-like taste almost made her. If she spat it out, her father would definitely scold her for a long time. Annie had to endure the nausea, glancing resentfully at the commander while forcing down the unappetizing meal. Under clan leader Bakin's caring concern, Annie forced herself to eat 2 meals, but she was not happy at all. Yi Xiaodong, arrange for you and your team members to take turns eating. Zhao Chen communicated via the communication channel with Yi Xiaotong, the captain of the Black Knight mech squad. Yes, 3 T2 Black Knight light starfighter mechs approached Zhao Chen's camp. Then, the 3 Black Knights crouched down, like big children squatting on the ground. The hatch on the back of each mech opened, and 3 female crew members in tight combat suits stepped down. Interestingly, female crew members wearing close-fitting combat suits also have a unique charm. "Commander," said Yi Xiaotong, the leader of the mech squad. She stood in front of Zhao Chun, with a pair of black ears standing upright on her head and a long black tail behind her. All 3 mech drivers are from the Black Cat tribe. Compared to other half-beast races, the Black Cat tribe is better suited for piloting combat mechs. Ordinary half-beasts find it hard to perform advanced combat skills in a mech, but the Black Cat tribe is very skilled at it. This is why they became some of the first mech pilots in the Xianglong fleet. "You've been fighting for a while. Eat something first." Zhao Chun pointed to a special white container nearby. Chief Bajin was holding a nutritional meal. This was his 3rd box. He was a bit embarrassed at first, but with Zhao Chen's permission, he ate the 3rd box shyly. He looked curiously at the white container, which was about a square meter in size and had never been opened. He was curious about what was inside. Yi Xiaodong skillfully opened the white box. Inside, there were several meal boxes similar to nutritional meals. "Commander, what would you like?" Yi Xiaodong asked Zhao Chen first. "Just give me a number 3 meal," Zhao Chen replied. Yi Xiaotong handed a meal box to Zhao Chen with both hands. Then each of her team members chose and took a meal box. When Zhao Chen opened his meal box, a warm aroma and delicious smell wafted out. Inside, there were several sections. The largest was a serving of white rice, and the other sections included a large chicken leg, fish-flavored shredded pork, some vegetables, and a bowl of bone broth. Almost all the dwarves present were attracted by the smell. They couldn't help but look at Zhao Chun and the mech driver's meal boxes. "Commander, next time, could you please just take the shuttle down instead of jumping with me every time?" Yi Xiaotong, biting a meatball, looked at Zhao Chun eagerly. She was the T2 Black Knight mech pilot who had jumped down from the T3 Blizzard twice in a row with Zhao Chun. "Isn't it fine?" "I'm perfectly fine." Zhao Chun spread his arms to show he was okay. Yi Xiaotong rolled her eyes and said, "You're fine, but if you do this a few more times, my heart might give out." Zhao Chun chuckled and said, all right. I won't do it again." "That's what you said." Yi Xiaodong immediately stared at Zhao Chun, her tail wagging behind her. "Hurry up and eat. You only have 10 minutes for your meal during the emergency, and other soldiers need to eat too," Zhao Chen said, handing them a few bottles of juice from a white container. He also took one for himself. At that moment, Zhao Chen seemed to suddenly notice a pair of big eyes looking at him sadly from nearby. "Oh, I almost forgot about you. Want to share?" Zhao Chen pointed to the remaining lunchbox inside the white container. Annie wanted to reach out and grab it, but her stomach told her she was already full. She hugged her knees and looked at the commander with a sad expression. Even though there was a special meal box for emergencies, the commander hadn't told her about it before. The commander must have done it on purpose. Just now, he even deliberately made her eat another nutritious meal. Wah. Annie also wanted to eat those delicious foods. Zhao Chun ignored Annie's pitiful look and enjoyed the food in his own lunchbox. When the starship goes into battle mode, the ship's cafeteria makes simple emergency meal boxes for the crew. There are several types. During a fight, these can be quickly delivered to different positions on the starship or, like now, dropped to ground soldiers. Each one is kept warm, so the food is hot when served. Although not as fancy as the starship's regular meals, the taste is quite good. Each person also gets a bottle of nutritional drink for emergencies, which is a special supply during battles. Gulp. Chief Bakin recognized the food in Zhao Chen's hand. All of it was natural food, and in that moment, he felt that his nutritional meal didn't taste as good anymore. "Sorry, these are standard meals for our crew," Zhao Chen said, looking at Chief Bakin and explaining. "Standard meals for crew? Can all crew members eat this kind of food?" Chief Bakin was surprised. Zhao Chen nodded, then pointed at the sad-looking Annie. You can ask Annie. She is a crew member on a starship in my fleet, and she eats this kind of food every day. Chief Bajin looked at his daughter. Annie honestly said what she had eaten. Once she started, she couldn't stop, and she listed all the foods in the starship's cafeteria. Rice, vegetables, meats, fruits, and even drinks. Many of the nearby short soldiers heard Annie's words. They seemed amazed, as if they had heard a myth. Could a starship really provide such a lifestyle every day? That can't be true. Eating this kind of food every day would cost a lot, one dwarf soldier questioned. Annie immediately became anxious and defended herself. I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, well, I have photos. Suddenly remembering she had taken pictures, Annie quickly accessed her device's gallery and projected holographic images. The photos showed all kinds of delicious-looking foods and pictures of Annie with the food. Now, the dwarf soldiers around believed her completely. They started to envy and ask Annie about the taste of these foods. Zhao Chen watched Annie become his public relations ambassador and felt very pleased. This was like planting a seed in these dwarfs' minds. Later, he just needed to water it, and the seed would naturally take root and grow. The plan to attract excellent employees is underway. At this moment, a system notification appeared in Zhao Chen's mind. Mission: defeat the fire lizard fleet invading Annie's hometown. Difficulty: sea level reward. 5 mission points and 2,000 system points penalty. Deduct 2,000 points. Ding. A choice between 2 missions has been triggered. Please select the mission you want to undertake. Mission 1. Protect Annie's home planet from fire lizard fleet attacks. Difficulty: sea level. Mission 2. Control and occupy the entire FY star system. Difficulty: B level. Zhao Chen first claimed his reward, gaining 5 mission points and 2,000 system points. System points: 9,420. Mission points: 65. Zhao Chen looked again at the newest mission option. This time, it was a choose one mission, requiring him to pick between 2 options. One was easier, a sea-level task. Its goal was simple: protect this planet. The fire lizard tribe probably wouldn't give up easily and might attack again. As long as the planet stays safe, the mission is complete. The other was more difficult, a B-level task. It required controlling the entire FY star system. From what Zhao Chen knew, FY star system has 2 stars, 6 planets, 2 dwarf planets, 180,000 asteroids, 27 moons, and over 100 periodic comets. Its size isn't as big as the Xiaolong star system, but it has 2 stars, so it has a stargate. The population is similar to the Xiaolong star system, but living conditions are very uneven. The society is chaotic, and the powerful can do as they please, while the weak are oppressed and at the bottom. Compared to the Xiaolong star system, which has been losing people for decades, FY star system still receives many refugees each year. This is why the asteroid belt is poor and why so many people gather here. Controlling the FY star system, Zhao Chen thought about the pros and cons. The downside is clear. He would have to fully oppose the fire lizard tribe and find a way to destroy them. Otherwise, they might come back to trouble him at any time. If the tribe has allies, it could cause a chain reaction, like hitting their son and then their father coming to fight. Also, defending this star system would require a fleet. Since the asteroid belt is tangled with many factions, Zhao Chen doesn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. The benefits are obvious. He would have a hidden base. Although he has the Xiaolong star system as his visible territory, that location is in the Beifeng star domain, under the royal family of the Starshine Empire and close to Governor Chu, He's domain. Before he grows stronger, he must be careful. His home could be lost if he's not cautious. As the saying goes, a clever rabbit has 3 burrows. Setting up a second base isn't too much to ask. Plus, with 2 stars and an old stargate, transportation would be relatively easy. The only problem here is the lack of resources. Building a starship construction base would be difficult because transporting raw materials would be a big challenge and the cost would increase. Although there is a stargate, bringing in large amounts of raw materials would be risky, especially in the treacherous reef star domain, where enemies are cunning and dangerous. Risk and reward go hand in hand. I think it's worth the risk, Zhao Chen decided. Accept Mission 2. Mission 2. Control and occupy over 90% of the planets in the FY star system difficulty. B-level reward. 20 mission points, and 7,000 credits requirements. Within 2 months, control over more than 90% of the planets in the FY star system, and establish an unshakable position for the host in that system penalty. Deduct 7,000 credits, Zhao Chen secretly thought with some frustration. Little lizard, we have no grudges or conflicts, but why do you have to bully my dwarf technician? It's because your territory happens to be the FY star system. If anyone is to blame, it's just bad luck for you. From then on, the great mission to overthrow the violent rule of the Fire Lizard clan and save countless lives in the FY star system was placed on Zhao Chen's shoulders. After a hearty meal, Zhao Chen started chatting with clan leader Bakin. He openly expressed his idea of recruiting dwarves. You want to recruit us? Clan leader Bakin looked surprised. Zhao Chen pointed at Annie and said, I see your talent as starship craftsman in Annie. I can prepare a planet for you to live on within my territory. I will protect your safety, and in return, you will work for me in exchange for food and pay. The work is not dangerous, mainly manufacturing things you are good at, like starships, combat mechs, strategic supplies, and other industrial technologies. Clan leader Bakin looked hesitant. If it were someone else, he might have refused outright. The reason he and his people stayed hidden in this star system was not because no one tried to recruit them, but because those who did often treated them unfairly. After all, they are not the same race, and dwarves are naturally small and easy to bully. Initially, the interstellar civilizations or forces that recruited them offered kind words. Over time, they began to exploit or reduce the promised benefits. Sometimes, after learning their technology, they would abandon and betray them. Dad, Commander is really great. The food is delicious, and we can even drink wine. Annie, acting as Zhao Chen's assistant, personally experienced the advantages of the Falcon Dragon fleet. Naturally, she hoped her people could live together within the Falcon Dragon fleet or star system. You saved my daughter, and this time you also saved our people. I trust you, but making it easy for me to agree to a full migration is difficult. I'm sorry, I can't give you an answer right now. Clan leader Bajin looked at Zhao Chen with difficulty, as they had only just met. He quickly added, if it were just me, I would keep my word. I am willing to work for you, but I do not represent my entire clan. If you need, I can resign as clan leader and leave with you. Dad, you're so stubborn. Here we can't get enough to eat or warm clothes, and we're still being bullied by those annoying lizards, Annie said anxiously. Such a good opportunity. Why doesn't her father see it? Zhao Chen nodded. I understand your feelings. Maybe you still don't fully trust me. You also said you can't speak for your people. So, here's what we'll do. Pass my idea to your people. Those willing to come with me can board the 5T2 reindeer ships to my territory. I will ensure smooth communication with the first group of dwarves. Once they settle in and live and work there for a while, you can also hear from them whether my promises are true. Yes. Commander is right. Dad, if you don't believe it, go see for yourself, Annie said firmly. She believed that once her people experienced life within the Falcon Dragon fleet, they would never want to leave. Zhao Chen watched clan leader Bajin. Although he could force him directly, Zhao Chen preferred to be polite first. If he could persuade with reason, that would be best. He didn't want the situation to worsen. After all, earning genuine loyalty from others is the key to efficient and sustainable development. I can pass your message to my people, Commander. If they are willing to follow you and leave, I won't stop them. Chief Bakin finally relented. Zhao Chen smiled with satisfaction. Once the first group of dwarves joins him, there will be a second, then a third. Who can resist the power of a tempting offer? There's one more thing I want to tell you. Considering the safety of your planet, the Fire Lizard tribe might come back to bother you again. So, I have decided to use force to take control of the entire FY star system, to seize it from the Fire Lizard tribe. Even if you choose to stay here, it will be safe, Zhao Chen announced, delivering a bombshell to Chief Bakin. You're going to take control of the FY star system from the Fire Lizard tribe? Chief Bakin stared at Zhao Chen in shock. Although the Fire Lizard tribe isn't the strongest interstellar force in the Reef star domain, they still have nearly 3,000 starships. Their strength is quite impressive. After suffering this loss, they will surely send more fleets to attack. Relying on just one starship, you might find it difficult, Chief Bakin said cautiously, actually meaning that it was nearly impossible. One starship might be enough to handle their 300 or 400 fire lizard ships. But what if they come back with 1,000 or 2 ships next time? Even if Zhao Qin's T3 Blizzard-class light starship cruiser is very powerful, with so many starships attacking, eventually, supplies will run out. Who says I only have this one starship? Zhao Qin said mysteriously with a smile. Annie, standing beside him, proudly crossed her arms and said, Dad, you don't know this, but the commander's fleet is very strong. Those lousy lizards are no match for the commander. Right, Commander. Hearing Annie's flattering words, Zhao Qin playfully poked her head and said, I know what you're thinking. You just want me to control this star system so that your parents and people can be safe. Annie stuck out her tongue. Who was it that said before, as long as I am willing to save her people, I can work without eating or drinking? Zhao Qin deliberately brought up the previous words. Annie immediately became timid. She curled her head, clutched her clothes, and said softly with some grievance, But if Annie doesn't eat enough, I won't have the strength to work. Zhao Qin no longer teased Annie. He looked at clan leader Bakin and said, I just want to inform you about this. Be mentally prepared. As for the details, I will arrange everything properly. Also, please select the dwarves who are willing to leave within 3 days. These 5 T2 reindeer-class heavy starship transports will depart and return within 3 days. With so many excellent starship craftsmen, Zhao Qin wished there was a teleportation portal to send them directly back to his Xianglong territory. Okay, I will handle it right away, clan leader Bakin said, and went to do as Zhao Qin instructed. Zhao Qin jumped alone onto the shoulder of a T2 Black Knight-class light starfighter mech, sat on it, and opened a video call with Charlotte. Commander, Charlotte's image appeared in front of Zhao Qin, with the background showing the T3 Blizzard ship's bridge. Tell me about this battle, Zhao Qin said. Charlotte answered without hesitation. In this battle, the T3 Blizzard destroyed over 200 starships, including 1 T3 starship, 37 T2 starships, and the rest were T1 starships. The rest of the Fire Lizard fleet's starships all escaped. The star shield energy of the T3 Blizzard remains at 37%. After ending the battle, it is expected to recover fully within the next 40 hours. The starship's energy reserves are at 55%, and the ammunition is at 64%, with 38 star missiles used and 12 remaining. The ship's armor has sustained 13% damage overall, with the most severely damaged areas at 30%. No personnel were injured. Listening to Charlotte report these battle data, her face remained calm, as if this battle was just a minor game. After all, the real confrontation only lasted a few minutes during the direct fight with the T3 Arkham-class medium starship battleship. Once the T3 Arkham fell, the Fire Lizard fleet completely lost its desire to fight. If the opponent can maintain enough fighting strength, they could fight T3 Blizzard fiercely. Or perhaps the commander could switch tactics, giving Charlotte at least a 50% chance of winning. Unfortunately, that is just an if. At this moment, Zhao Qin explained his plan to take control of the entire FY star system to Charlotte. A flicker of intelligence appeared in Charlotte's eyes, a sign she only showed when facing the interstellar bugs of the million-strong insect race before. It seems that this game has only now caught Charlotte's interest. Based on the situation with the Fire Lizard clan, they need at least half a month to gather their fleet and prepare for an attack again. In terms of time, our follow-up fleet can arrive here within half a month without much trouble, Charlotte said. Zhao Qin nodded. Then you can start planning several battle strategies. Yes, Charlotte replied. When Zhao Qin learned that the Fire Lizard clan had attacked the dwarf planet, he tried to send a message to Lilith. Although the communication was difficult due to the distance, he managed to connect. Lilith should already be organizing her fleet to arrive soon. Once the Dragon fleet is assembled, dealing with the Fire Lizard fleets won't be easy. 3 days passed quickly. All the remaining ground forces of the Fire Lizard on this planet were wiped out, and the planet was once again under dwarf control. Zhao Qin also spread the word about recruiting dwarf craftsmen at various refuge bases. Compared to Zhao Qin being at the first refuge base himself, the other bases probably have fewer dwarves. In the end, 3 days later, only 50,000 dwarves agreed to leave with Zhao Qin's T2 reindeer, most traveling in families, many of which include the elderly, women, and children. Because of this difficult situation, they decided to take a risk and head toward the rumored Dragon Star system, hoping for a better future. Zhao Chen didn't mind. With families involved, it would be easier to control these dwarves, and he wasn't worried they wouldn't serve him loyally. And later, he can also inform the dwarves here about how he treats them. Is he worried that there won't be a second or third group willing to follow him? Here is the list of dwarves willing to leave with you. Clan leader Bakin handed Zhao Chen an electronic list. Zhao Chen glanced over it. 20,000 men, 30,000 women. Among them, 30,000 are adult workers. Of these, 20,000 adult female dwarves are capable of working. Of course, not all of these 20,000 women are highly skilled in manufacturing, so some screening will be needed later. But from these 20,000, selecting 2,000 or 3,000 should be easy. The rest can be trained and assigned to work. The qualified female dwarves will be assigned to his interstellar industrial ship, while the remaining men and women will be sent to industrial factories on designated planets. Zhao Chen saw a few names on the list and looked at clan leader Bakin with some surprise. He had met Annie's mother and her 5 siblings in recent days. All 6 of them are on this list. Clan leader Bakin scratched his head awkwardly. I have to stay here to take care of our people, but my wife and children are willing to go with Annie to that place she calls heaven. Please, Commander, take care of these people, he said. Afterward, clan leader Bakin saluted Zhao Chen with an ancient dwarven greeting. Annie carried a large sack in her left hand and a box in her right hand, with a backpack as tall as herself on her back. At this moment, it was clear that Annie's hard work was not wasted. Her strength and endurance were truly impressive. Hey yo, Annie finished organizing everything and looked at her mother and 5 siblings. You all stay here and rest. It will probably take about half a month for you to reach the dragon territory. Although I haven't been there myself, trust Annie. The commander won't lie to us. Once we arrive, we won't have to suffer hunger or fear anymore. Big sister, won't you come with us? The second youngest sister, a little girl with a similar look to Annie, looked at her nervously. Annie patted her sister's head. Nana, big sister won't be here. You are the oldest child at home, so take care of mom and your younger brothers and sisters. Big sister will be back very soon. Nana nodded firmly, looking a bit like Annie. Don't worry, big sister. Nana will take good care of mom and everyone. Annie took some lollipops from her pocket and handed them to her brothers and sisters. Then she pointed to the big bundle. At the bottom of this bundle, I prepared some food for you. You can eat it on the way. When you reach the dragon territory, you'll have the chance to eat every day. Seeing the snacks in Annie's hand, the little dwarfs all showed happy expressions. Annie, you've really grown up, their mother said, touching Annie's head. Annie grinned and said happily, Mom, don't worry. Now that Annie has a job, I can support you all. After seeing off her mother and siblings, Annie left the T2 reindeer and returned to the T3 Storm Snow class light interstellar battleship. Later, the T3 Storm Snow escorted the 2 T2 reindeer ships to the Stargate. Once they pass through the Stargate and leave the Reef's star domain to enter the Empire of Stars, these 2 T2 reindeer ships will be safe. After sending off the T2 reindeer ships, the T3 Storm Snow returned to outside the dwarf planet. Zhao Chen sat in the captain's chair, looking at the planet and the remnants of the interstellar battlefield that hadn't been cleaned up. He had finished arranging the affairs on the planet, and the interstellar transport ship had been sent away. Now, he was waiting for the Fire Lizard fleet to arrive. Regarding ruling this galaxy, Zhao Chen only needs to show a clear victory at the right time, so the native inhabitants on those planets can see it. Then, it will be much easier to build trust and authority. Next, all we can do is wait. Zhao Chen sat in the captain's chair, looking at the dwarf planet behind him. Commander, Annie. Annie can repair the armor on the T3 Blizzard ship. Annie raised her hand at this moment. Zhao Chen was a bit surprised to see Annie volunteering for the task. There are no facilities like interstellar industrial ships or spaceports here, Zhao Chen said. Annie replied, My father prepared some simple equipment for me. I can wear a spacesuit and go outside the ship to repair the damaged armor. It might be slower, but the quality will definitely be as good as that of interstellar industrial ships and spaceports. Won't that be too dangerous? Zhao Chen looked at Annie. Annie firmly said, I've done this kind of work before, even before I was an adult. I used to help my father repair dwarf starships. It's not very dangerous or difficult. Commander, let me do it. Thinking about it, on such a barren planet, spaceports are quite a luxury, and raw material prices are much higher than in the Starshine Empire. Anything she can do herself, she will do herself. Seeing Annie's rare, determined expression, Zhao Qin finally agreed. It seemed that this child had grown up after seeing her own people. Commander. I couldn't resist my previous food standards and bought some food and snacks for my younger siblings. There are still 3 or 5 days until the end of the month. Could you please give me an advance? Otherwise, Annie will go hungry. Annie suddenly turned around, looking at Zhao Chun with a sad expression. Zhao Chun withdrew his thoughts. She was still a silly girl. Just follow me then, Zhao Chun said with a helpless smile. Thank you, Commander. Annie bowed to Zhao Chun, then happily left the bridge to do her work. Over the next week or so, everyone could see Annie wearing her space suit, holding tools, patching up the damaged parts of the T3 Blizzard ship outside. Whenever it's mealtime, I rush to Zhao Chin's side first, blinking my big, watery eyes at him, as if I am a small cat waiting to be fed. Fire Lizard Clan main base. The Fire Lizard Clan directly controls 5-star systems, with 3,000 interstellar warships, including 5 T3 class ships. With this power, the Fire Lizard Clan has become a second-tier force in the Dark Reef star domain. They are just one step away from being a top-tier power. Unexpectedly, when I was feeling sleepy, someone sent me a pillow. On the 3rd planet of the FY star system, which I control and has little profit, I discovered a mineral deposit. At first, the dwarf race suggested they could mine it and sell it to the Fire Lizard Clan at a low price. How could that be? Such a large gold mountain. How could I give it to those dwarves? It must stay in my hands. I even thought it was necessary to remove all the residents from that planet, or those guys would definitely steal my wealth. This led to the later expulsion of the dwarves and the battles with them. In the opinion of the Fire Lizard Clan leader, the Dwarf Star Fleet has very little combat power. Sending 1 T3 Arkham-class ship and a fleet of 300 to 400 interstellar warships is enough to deal with the dwarves. But unexpectedly, I received news that a T3 Arkham-class medium-sized starship had been destroyed. The Fire Lizard Clan leader pushed aside 3 alluring fire lizard women with charming eyes. He quickly walked to the conference room outside, looking at several holographic projections of fire lizard generals. Leader, the latest news. The second ship of the T3 Arkham-class starship commanded by Kulu has been destroyed. Meanwhile, our 5th Fire Lizard fleet has suffered more than half casualties. One of the Fire Lizard generals reported seriously. The Fire Lizard Clan leader's expression was grim. He stared at his fleet commanders and asked, what exactly happened? A mere dwarf planet couldn't be subdued, yet a T3 Arkham-class ship was lost. According to the return signals from the fleeing 5th Fire Lizard fleet, they were attacked by a starship suspected to be a T3 star cruiser or possibly T3 star battleship. T3 Arkham was defeated in the battle and was destroyed. Afterward, the 5th fleet withdrew. The Fire Lizard commander responded, showing footage captured by the returning Fire Lizard starship. You can see a gray interstellar battleship and footage of it firing a cluster laser. Just this one battleship. It defeated my 5th fleet, and it took down a T3 Arkham. The Fire Lizard leader was now visibly angry. It's important to know how much time and resources it takes to build a T3 starship. They can afford to lose many T1 or T2 starships, but a T3 starship is a key asset that shows their status in the Reef star domain. Based on what we know now, this is the situation, the Fire Lizard commander said. The tail behind the Fire Lizard leader thumped heavily on the ground with a loud bang. Can't figure out which faction is responsible? The leader demanded angrily. This starship has no data available, so we can't identify it yet. But according to reports from our starships still stationed in the FY star system, that T3 starship is still there, the commander explained. Hearing that the culprit who destroyed their T3 starship hadn't left, the Fire Lizard leader's eyes suddenly ignited like flames. How many fleets can we deploy now? We can mobilize the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 7th, and 8th fleets, totaling nearly 2,000 starships, the commander replied. The leader immediately ordered, we don't need 2,000 ships to deal with one starship. The 3rd fleet will stay at the main base. The remaining 4 fleets will prepare and head to the FY star system. I want that starship to pay the price. I want those cursed dwarves to kneel and serve as slaves for life. From then on, the Fire Lizard Star Fleet began a large-scale mobilization. After replenishing their strategic resources, they set out from the nearest star gate toward the FY star system. However, because the fleets were spread out, it took more than a week just to gather all of them. After completing some additional preparations, the Fire Lizard fleet appeared through the star gate in the FY star system, which was half a month after the incident. The Fire Lizard leader sat on the command chair of his T-3 interstellar battleship, watching his ships pass through the old Stargate one by one with a serious expression. In this area, he was not worried about being attacked, because in the Reef's star domain, there is a rule that conflicts between forces are allowed, but fighting within a certain range of the Stargate is forbidden. The Stargate area is like a no-war zone. Stargates are very important strategic resources, but the various interstellar forces in the Reef star domain are not very good at building them. These Stargates are all relics from thousands of years ago. Many have been destroyed over time. This led to the rule of protecting the Stargates. Of course, some people break this rule. When someone breaks the rule, the main forces of the Reef's star domain gather their strength to eliminate the offending force completely. After a few such incidents, no one dares to break the rule again. The Stargates are usually operated by neutral trade groups. They charge a fee for using the gates and maintain them, allowing anyone who pays to use them. The Fire Lizard fleet appearing in this star system is surprising, said a man in the FY Stargate control room, smoking a cigarette as he watched the screens showing the Fire Lizard ships. There are over 1,500 ships, including 2 T-3 interstellar battleships. Such a large fleet's deployment clearly indicates a major move. I heard that on the third planet, where the dwarf race lives, a Fire Lizard T-3 Arkham and more than 200 T-1 and T-2 ships were destroyed. All by a single battleship, his partner added, showing a picture. It was a gray T-3 battleship crossing the Stargate, appearing in this universe. A single T-3 battleship taking on an entire fleet? It seems the Fire Lizard race has provoked something powerful. I need to report this to the boss. The man smoking a cigarette immediately began editing information, transmitting details about what was happening and about to happen to a large trading alliance within the Dark Reef star domain. Report, the Fire Lizard First Fleet has all crossed the Stargate. Clan Leader, our 4th Fleet, is all assembled. All starships of the 7th Fleet are here. Report, the 8th Fleet of the Fire Lizard is fully assembled. Upon receiving news that several Fire Lizard fleets had all arrived, the clan leader pointed to the 3rd planet in the FY star system on the star map. Let's go. We need to find out about that T-3 interstellar battleship. Who really controls this place? With over 1,500 starships heading toward the 3rd planet of the FY star system, they moved in a mighty fleet. Brother, what do you think? What will happen this time with that mysterious T-3 interstellar battleship? The young man in the FY Stargate control room asked the man who had just reported the news. The man stared at the distant starships. What do you think will happen? There are over 1,500 starships, including 2 T-3 battleships. No matter what, can that T-3 battleship really fight against 1,000 ships? Unfortunately, we have rules that prevent us from leaving the Stargate's combat zone. I really want to see how this turns out. He lit another cigarette for himself. As he was about to finish that cigarette, the console showed that more than 10 starships were about to cross through the Stargate. Why is today so lively? Usually, this quiet FY star system doesn't see more than 100 starships in a day. As he spoke, he saw dozens of gray-painted starships emerging from the Stargate. His face stiffened. Why do these starships feel so hostile? And why does that gray paint look so much like the T-3 battleship? 3rd planet in the FY star system clan leader Bakeen, wearing a single-lens deep space telescope, looked up at the sky. Soon, he spotted the figure of the T-3 Blizzard. It floated in space like a piece of art. At this moment, his mood was very complicated. A few days ago, he received news that the Fire Lizard clan's leader was very angry about their defeat on the 3rd planet of the FY star system, especially because a T-3 Arkham ship had been destroyed. Actually, Gene clan leader Bakjin had already expected the Fire Lizard clan's revenge. He had heard that Zhao Qin could handle this problem, so he wasn't worried. But the Fire Lizard clan had been ruling over them for many years, so it was impossible not to worry. He once thought about fleeing with his people, but the planet they lived on had been their home for hundreds of years. Leaving was not an easy option. However, he also cared about his family's safety, so he decided to let some of the dwarves leave on a starship. At least, that way, their dwarf tribe would leave a seed of hope. Enemy sighted. It's the Fire Lizard clan's starship fleet. A dwarf soldier, also using a single-eyed deep space telescope, pointed to a direction in the sky and said. Leader Bakjin immediately looked over. In front of the T3 Blizzard ship, a group of starships appeared. From far away, they looked tiny, like grains of rice. But there were at least 1,000 of these rice grains. Bakjin swallowed hard and clenched his fists. There are 2 T3 starships, 1 T3 Arkham-class medium starship, and 1 T3 Ghost-class medium starship. The dwarf soldier's voice trembled slightly. Approximately. About 4 fleets of the Fire Lizard clan, nearly 1,500 starships, including nearly 300 T2 starships. A wave of despair began to spread among the dwarves. They thought about the Fire Lizard clan's revenge, but didn't expect it to come so quickly and on such a large scale. 1,500 starships. Although the T3 Blizzard was powerful, it was alone. How could one starship stand against over 1,000 starships? T3 Blizzard-class light starship cruiser. Bridge Zhaoqin sat calmly on the captain's chair, looking at the updated enemy fleet data on the screen. 2 T3 starships, 1 T3 Arkham, and 1 T3 Ghost. Nearly 300 T2 starships. He didn't bother to read the names, only glanced at the distribution of ship types. There are over 200 T2 interstellar warships of various types, more than 70 T2 destroyers, 20 T2 cruisers, 5 T2 battleship cruisers, as well as 2 T2 battleships and 1 T2 carrier starship. Additionally, there are 1,300 T1 interstellar warships, 1,000 T1 ships, 200 T1 destroyers, 50 T1 cruisers, 30 T1 battle cruisers, and 10 T1 battleships. In fact, these T1-level interstellar warships, regardless of their type, are just a series of numbers to Zhaoqin. They are ships only a few dozen meters long. Usually, they are just patrolling between star systems. Without the existence of stargates, they can't even cross interstellar boundary space, let alone travel between stars. They are insignificant ships among the many. The real threats are probably the 300 T2 interstellar warships and 2 T3 interstellar warships. Any news? Zhaoqin asked Secretary Ai Li beside him. Ai Li softly replied. Almost there. Zhaoqin smiled with anticipation and looked at Charlotte. Charlotte, this should be our first real fleet-level operation with the Dragonfly fleet, right? Charlotte nodded slightly. Before this, the largest battle involving the Dragonfly fleet was at most 6 interstellar warships, 5 ships, and 1 carrier starship, fighting against mechanical starships. That was only a half-hearted effort. At this moment, a communication request came through. It's the flagship of the Fire Lizard clan fleet, the T3 Arkham, Ai Li mentioned beside him. Zhaoqin paused for a moment, then took out a black mask and put it on his face. Let's keep a low profile for now. Connected, he said. A video window appeared before Zhaoqin, showing a lizard man on the other side. Which faction sent you? The Fire Lizard clan leader restrained his anger and looked at the masked man. Zhaoqin spat out 4 words. None of your business. The Fire Lizard clan leader twitched the corner of his mouth and stared at him. Why are you interfering in the dwarf race's affairs? I like to interfere. I want to, Zhaoqin said playfully. The Fire Lizard clan leader snorted coldly. Very well. Since you are unwilling to reveal your identity and purpose, I won't ask further. But you will have to pay the price for what you've done. Are you talking about your T3 Arkham? That starship is too weak. I fired a few shots, and it couldn't handle it. Where did you buy that starship? It doesn't seem durable. Could it have been a scam? Zhaoqin teased. You didn't get enough earlier. I wonder how your T3 Arkham can withstand a few of my shots. You're quite confident. I want to see if your starship is as tough as your words. Just a small starship, and you're here daring to boast at me. The Fire Lizard clan leader sneered angrily, coldly watching the masked man across from him as if he were looking at a corpse. At this moment, Zhaoqin burst into laughter. His laughter made the Fire Lizard clan leader feel confused. Zhaoqin looked at him with half-closed eyes. Who told you I only have 1 starship? The Fire Lizard clan leader was stunned. Then an urgent report came from his ship's bridge. Report. The fleet's rear starship radar detected an unknown star fleet behind us. The Fire Lizard clan leader's face darkened. He stared at the masked man. Are you deliberately waiting for me here? He had wondered earlier why this T3 starship hadn't moved. Now it was clear they were waiting for him. Exactly, but there's no reward for that, Zhao Chun said with a light laugh. He snapped his fingers, and the video window closed. At the same time, another video window appeared before him. On the screen was a white-haired wolf girl, short silver hair, 2 white ears, and a scar on her face. Despite the scar, it made her look more imposing. Commander, Bai Shui has been ordered to lead the fleet to support. The fleet awaits your command. Meanwhile, more than 10 gray-painted starships appeared behind the Fire Lizard fleet, arranged in a very standard star carrier formation. The outer guard was a T2 Black Rhinoceros-class Heavy, with a T2 Queen Bee-class Heavy starship and a starship called Charlotte, which Zhao Chun and others had never seen before. No, they had heard of it from Zhao Chun. It was a T2 Lion King-class Heavy Star missile ship. Zhao Chun crossed his arms over his chest, his eyes sharp like a hawk, staring at the holographic image of the interstellar battlefield showing 1,500 starships. Begin the hunt, he said. There are 10 T2 Black Rhinoceros-class interstellar heavy ships, 1 T2 Queen Bee-class heavy carrier starship, 1 T2 Lion King-class heavy missile starship. This is the reinforcements brought by White Snow, the wolf girl, who was previously mentioned and recommended by Charlotte as a key leader candidate. In other words, Zhao Chun's Dragon Falcon fleet now has 13 starships, 1 T3 starship and 12 T2 starships. They are about to face a fleet of fire lizard species that is 100 times larger. From just the size of the fleet, it seems unlikely anyone expects Zhao Chun's fleet to win. T3 Arkham-class medium-star battleship, bridge, ha. I thought it would be a big show. It's just 13 starships, all T2s. But I have 300 T2 starships myself. How do you think you can fight me? The Fire Lizard leader sneered confidently. When he learned that a fleet suddenly appeared behind his ships, he felt a jolt of worry. Now, seeing this, he wondered if the man in the black mask was just joking. Does he really think a few starships can challenge him? He didn't bother to consider his own strength. The 4th Fleet and the 8th Fleet will handle the T2 starships at the back. The 7th Fleet, together with my 1st Fleet, will take down that T3 starship, the Fire Lizard leader ordered. He decided to attack on 2 fronts, aiming to wipe out this unknown and overconfident fleet right here. T3 Blizzard-class light star battleship. Bridge Zhao Chun looked at the holographic battlefield image and noticed the deployment of the Fire Lizard fleet. Is everything okay on White Snow's side? Zhao Chun asked Charlotte. Charlotte handed over command of the opposing fleet to White Snow. She rarely smiled and reassured him. Commander, don't worry. Snow can handle this battle easily. Then go ahead and show us what you've got. Zhao Chun rested his chin on his hand, seemingly waiting to enjoy a good show. Professional tasks should be handled by experts. Although Zhao Chun is also a cadet in the Fleet Command program, Charlotte and the others are better at commanding starship battles. Charlotte has already started planning the battle. Storm Snow's speed increased to 210 stars per hour, circling around the enemy fleet formation, with main and secondary guns choosing targets to attack. Understood. Storm Snow is accelerating, current speed. 40 stars per hour. 60 stars per hour. 80 stars per hour, the crew member reported. Zhao Chun looked at the holographic star battlefield on the other side. Right now, because of the Fire Lizard fleet's deployment, the battlefield is divided into 2 sides. On the other side, the 4th and 8th Fire Lizard fleets have begun attacking Snow White's star fleet from 3 front directions. Snow White's fleet is maintaining its battle formation. Zhao Chun glanced at the image captured by the Deep Space Telescope nearby. It showed the T2 Lion King-class heavy star missile cruiser. This was the first appearance of the T2 Lion King. Originally, Snow White's reinforcements could have arrived days earlier, but after Lilith learned about the Fire Lizard clan in the asteroid field, she suggested delaying the reinforcements. The reason was that the first T2 Lion King was already under construction, with the ship's frame and keel completed. If, at this point, 2 T2 Hammer-class heavy industrial ships paused their construction plans to help build the T2 Lion King, working overtime, it could be finished earlier. In the end, the T-2 Lion King was commissioned 20 days ahead of schedule. It even skipped the test voyage, joining the reinforcement fleet directly and completing half of the non-combat test tasks during the journey. So, it can be said that this battle is essentially the T-2 Lion King's combat test project. Zhao Qian looked at a nearby screen showing Snow White on the bridge of the T-2 Lion King. Since this was the T-2 Lion King's first battle, she made this starship her flagship. Normally, the flagship would be a T-2 Queen B-class heavy carrier starship. This was a special arrangement. White Snow, the Wolf Girl, has now begun issuing detailed combat orders. T-2 Black Rhinoceros, enter defensive mode and prepare to intercept enemy attacks. T-2 Queen Bee starts deploying interstellar drones and activates the star shield to protect our ship while also guarding T-2 Lion King. T-2 Lion King, prepare to launch 200 interstellar missiles with 4 rotating launchers. All 10 T-2 Black Rhinoceros close-range guns are aimed in one direction, ready to intercept enemy attacks at any moment. T-2 Queen Bee begins deploying interstellar drones. A swarm of interstellar drones, made up of T-2 Killer Bee medium drones and T-2 Large Yellow Wasp heavy drones, rushes toward the enemy fleet. Meanwhile, 50 missile launchers on the T-2 Lion King open, each resembling a dark abyss, giving a chilling feeling. Then, 50 T-2 Lion King-class interstellar missiles are launched, streaking toward the enemy fleet with fiery tails. These missiles are aimed at the flagship of the Fire Lizard 8th Fleet. The flagship of the Fire Lizard 8th Fleet is a T-2 Giant Bear-class heavy starship. 8th Fleet Flagship Bridge. Warning. 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 Large numbers of incoming interstellar missiles detected. Hearing the ship's systems alert, the Fire Lizard General looks surprised. Interstellar missiles? These guys actually have missile ships. He watches 50 fast-moving red dots on the radar approaching his fleet at high speed. Interstellar missiles are no joke. With comparable technology levels, they are second only to heavy ship-mounted main guns, rivaling main artillery, and have an extremely long range. Most importantly, they can deliver area-wide firepower and are guided. This is what makes these weapons so terrifying. Intercept. Intercept. All starships' close-range guns and secondary guns engage in intercepting. Try to shoot down as many of these missiles as possible. The general urgently orders. All starships in the Fire Lizard 8th Fleet lock their close-range and secondary guns onto the incoming missiles. Streams of fire shoot toward the missiles. 3 missiles are destroyed in explosions. The remaining missiles begin to sweep past the formation of the Fire Lizard 8th Fleet. During this process, 7 more interstellar missiles were intercepted. At this moment, they were already approaching their target. The flagship of the 8th Fleet, the T-2 Giant Bear-class heavy interstellar battleship. The commander of the 8th Fleet, the Fire Lizard, looked at the scene where 40 interstellar missiles were coming in. His eyes were filled with fear. 40 Lion King-class interstellar missiles began to accelerate at the end. They burned up their remaining fuel as quickly as possible, boosting their speed to the maximum. Not all 40 Lion King missiles hit the Fire Lizard race's T-2 flagship. Only 20 of them did. The other 20 spread out around the Fire Lizard fleet's ships. Explosions of fire appeared in the dark universe. Especially the T-2 flagship of the 8th Fleet, which was covered entirely by T-2 Lion King-class heavy interstellar missile ships. The explosion engulfed it. Almost instantly, all the starships under the Fire Lizard's 8th Fleet lost contact with their flagship. Report. The flagship, the T-2 Giant Bear-class heavy interstellar battleship, has been destroyed. This news alarmed the Fire Lizard chief, who was preparing to hunt the T-3 interstellar battleship. What? The Fire Lizard chief immediately stood up from his command chair. It had only been a few minutes since the battle started, and now his fleet's flagship was destroyed. What kind of joke was this? He pulled up the battlefield view of his 8th Fleet and was stunned. All he could see was the wreckage of a heavily damaged starship, unrecognizable from the original T-2 Giant Bear. If his subordinates hadn't lied to him about this, he would have asked outright, "Is this really the flagship of the 8th Fleet?" When he zoomed in on the image, he saw an even more disturbing scene. Besides the unrecognizable T-2 Giant Bear, there were several wrecks of T-1 starships and some T-2 starships that had been attacked within a certain range. Although those T-2 starships hadn't been destroyed, their main parts, like the main gun positions, had been damaged. The Fire Lizard clan leader saw the footage released by his subordinates. One of the ships shown was an unknown origin T-2 interstellar missile ship. This rare type of ship is almost never seen in the Reef Star domain. After all, although only 50 interstellar missiles were launched in that round of bombing, based on the usual market price, just that one round cost at least 500,000 to 600,000 star coins. Such a huge amount of battle expenses explains why few interstellar forces equip T-2 missile ships, unless you can research and build them yourself, which might reduce costs a bit. But if you buy a T-2 missile ship from others, it means you have to buy a batch of interstellar missiles from them over time. Unlike other interstellar warships, which are one-time purchases, at most, you might need repairs, and some can even be fixed on your own. At this moment, the Fire Lizard clan leader realized another very important issue. The attack interval of the T-2 missile ships is extremely short. Now, that T-2 missile ship launched another 50 missiles toward the 8th Fire Lizard fleet. Immediately arranged for other warships in the 8th fleet to take over command. The 4th fleet must launch a surprise attack on the enemy fleet and destroy that T-2 missile ship as soon as possible, the clan leader ordered urgently. At the same time, Zhao Chun was watching the debut performance of the T-2 Lion King. Honestly, the feeling of this kind of firepower bombardment is really exciting. But Zhao Chun still felt a bit of pain. Each of those 50 missiles costs about 600 star coins, so the total value is 30,000 star coins. If sold, the profit margin could be 10 to 20 times higher. This shows the advantage of self-research and self-manufacture. This scene is quite beautiful, Zhao Chun joked to Charlotte beside him. Charlotte glanced at the explosion of the missiles and said, "Burning money can't be ugly. Among the exploding dust, there's a scent of wealth." Soon, the second round of 50 missiles was launched, this time with precise targeting. They specifically aimed at the T-2 interstellar warships in the 8th Fire Lizard fleet, mainly interstellar battleships, battlecruisers, and cruisers. If only we had dozens of T-2 Lion Kings, we could share the benefits equally. Zhao Chun rubbed his chin, feeling a bit excited about the upcoming scene. Charlotte heard this and felt a chill run down her spine. That scene would definitely be terrifying. Meanwhile, the second wave of interstellar missiles exploded one after another, destroying one Fire Lizard T-2 starship after another. Then came the third and fourth waves of missiles. Under this intense attack, 12 T-2 starships were destroyed, over 40 heavily damaged, and dozens of T-1 starships were caught in the crossfire. This caused the 8th fleet of Fire Lizards to lose about 80% of its combat power. But the battle was not over yet. The Fire Lizard 8th fleet, just recovering from the missile barrage, saw a vast swarm of star drones approaching. The nightmare was just beginning. T-2 Lion King-class heavy interstellar missile cruiser, Bridge Wolf Girl Snow looked at the badly damaged 8th fleet of Fire Lizards. After the drone attack, they were no longer a threat. She turned her gaze to another approaching Fire Lizard fleet. Using the coordination of T-2 Lion King and T-2 Queen Bee-class heavy carriers, she aimed to first severely damage one fleet, making it lose its main fighting ability. Then she would quickly finish off the remaining Fire Lizard fleet and support the T-3 Blizzard-class light starship cruiser. This was the battle plan devised by Wolf Girl Snow and Charlotte. Lock onto the area where the 4th Fleet's flagship is located. Prepare 6 rounds of interstellar missiles. Snow selected her next target, the flagship of the 4th Fire Lizard Fleet. And this time, the flagship was no ordinary ship. It was a T-3 Ghost-class medium starship destroyer of the Fire Lizard race. It had already activated its star shield, but it was no match for a continuous barrage of missiles. 50 missiles in the first wave hit this T-3 Ghost destroyer without mercy. The scene made the commanders on the bridge of the Fire Lizard starship around the 4th Fleet's flagship feel a shiver in their hearts. The T-2 Lion King perfectly demonstrated what it means to be called the Starry Arsenal ship, fearlessly challenging even T-3 starships. Everywhere the artillery hits becomes ruins. This is the interstellar missile ship. This is Zhao Chen's Lion King. Compared to the fierce battle on this side, the T-3 Blizzard-class light starship cruiser is like a cat playing with a mouse. The T-3 Blizzard has been staying near the edge of the Fire Lizard 1st Fleet and the 7th Fleet. It skillfully keeps a distance that puts some enemy ships within firing range. As for the T-3 Blizzard's bow cannon, it has not been fired yet. In contrast, the flagship of the Fire Lizard First Fleet, a T-3 Arkham-class medium starship, only dares to try to get closer to the T-3 Blizzard with a small group of escorts. After all, the Fire Lizard leader has seen that the T-3 Arkham was destroyed by this T-3 starship before. He values his life and won't take risks. So, when facing this T-3 starship, he quickly strengthened his defenses to keep his flagship safe. Seeing this, the T-3 Blizzard didn't insist on destroying the enemy flagship. Instead, it kept engaging the Fire Lizard fleet, using its strengths and holding the bow cannon as a powerful weapon to intimidate the enemy. Zhao Chun is now watching the battered T-3 Ghost-class medium starship destroyer. Although it has shield technology, it can only block attacks from one direction. Even with constant adjustments, it can only defend against some of the incoming fire. The rest hit its hull. Warning! 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 Left side armor under attack. Armor strength remaining, 40%. Warning! 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 Multiple hull damages. Main structure strength decreased by 20%. Warning! 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 Attack on the ship's abdomen. Some areas of armor pierced. 14 compartments sealed off. 27 soldiers dead. On the bridge, the Fire Lizard General grips his captain's chair with both hands. He feels the constant shaking of his body, his face pale, angry, and terrified at the same time. This is a T-3 starship, yet it hasn't even reached the enemy's front line and is already ending like this. Fire! Open fire and return fire, the Fire Lizard General roars. Commander, our secondary guns are still out of range, and the main guns haven't reached effective firing distance, the adjutant said. I don't care about their effective range right now. Fire the guns. The Fire Lizard General was hysterical, showing complete frustration and anger. He already guessed the fate of his ship. Rather than dying in a humiliating way like the flagship of the 8th Fleet, at least he wanted his main guns to fire once. It would be too shameful if a T-3 interstellar battleship went down without firing a single shot. Fire, the adjutant reluctantly ordered. The main gun of this T-3 Ghost-class medium interstellar destroyer roared to life. It was a 1,500 mm caliber electromagnetic cannon. Once the shell was fired, its owner, the Ghost ship, could not escape the barrage of star missiles and was finally destroyed in an explosion. Looking at the continuous explosions and the ship breaking apart, most of the damage was caused by star missiles hitting the ammunition storage. The scene was almost impossible to describe. And this shell, which was given hope by its owner, headed straight for the enemy ship. In the end, it hit an interstellar battleship. On the bridge of the Black Rhinoceros-class heavy ship number 5, a system alert sounded. Alert! The front hull armor is under attack. Front hull armor strength decreased by 40%. The female captain was stunned for a moment, then immediately cursed. So many starships, and even though we're out of effective range, they still hit my ship. That's so frustrating. Moreover, among her dozen or so interstellar ships, her ship was the first to suffer damage. Her desire to win made her very unhappy. But then she thought, a T-2 interstellar ship can withstand a T-3 battleship's main gun attack head-on. Although it was outside the effective range, it showed how tough its armor was. Less than 10 minutes into the battle, the first T-3 interstellar battleship was destroyed. It was this Ghost-class medium interstellar destroyer. Meanwhile, over 300 ships of the Fire Lizard 4th Fleet rushed to the front of the Wolf Girl Snow's fleet. It is clear that these Fire Lizard race's interstellar warships lack power. They seem to be frightened by the recent barrage of interstellar missile attacks. The flagship of both Fire Lizard fleets was taken out from a distance. This was a strong warning. At this moment, the T-2 Lion King-class heavy interstellar missile ship's ammunition was also exhausted. The mission in this battle was nearly over, and the starship slowly moved to the rear of the T-2 Queen Bee-class heavy carrier starship. It became the first interstellar warship to be taken out from the Falcon Dragon fleet. 500 interstellar missiles, costing about 300,000 star coins each. If sold, they could fetch 5 to 6 million star coins. Zhao Qin muttered about the money spent in less than 10 minutes. Interstellar missile ships are definitely expensive, but it's also true that if used well, this type of warship can be quite cost-effective. Spending 5 or 6 million star coins to destroy a T3 interstellar warship and damage nearly 100 T2 warships is a huge gain. The next battle was handed over to the T2 Queen Bee and T2 Black Rhinoceros. Meanwhile, Charlotte in front of Zhao Qin seemed to have a flash of sharp insight in her eyes. Change course, heading / full speed ahead. Deploy all interstellar drones. Prepare interstellar missiles and the forward cannon. Charlotte quickly issued orders. The T3 Blizzard, which had been fighting the 1st Fire Lizard Fleet and the 7th Fleet, seized a rare opportunity at this moment. Perhaps because of the terrifying scene on another battlefield, the formation of the 7th Fire Lizard Fleet faltered slightly, creating a gap. Charlotte spotted this chance and chose to launch a high-speed attack directly toward the flagship of the 7th Fire Lizard Fleet. Oh no! That T3 starship's target is the 7th Fleet's flagship. The Fire Lizard leader's face changed. If, in such a short time, 3 of the 4 fleet flagships were destroyed, it would seriously affect morale. He absolutely could not allow this to happen. Full speed ahead. Prepare the main cannon. Aim at that T3 starship. Once within attack range, fire immediately. The Fire Lizard leader, ignoring the fight, rushed to support the 7th Fleet. The T3 Storm Snow-class light interstellar battleship, shielded by a star shield, bravely endures the fire from the Fire Lizard's 7th Fleet, charging straight ahead. It relies entirely on its main guns, secondary guns, and interstellar drones to break through the enemy blocking its path. Charlotte is very familiar with this tactic. Not long ago, she used the same strategy here to destroy a T3 Acom-class medium interstellar battleship. This time, her target is just a T2 Giant Bear-class heavy interstellar battleship. Report. The enemy Fire Lizard 1st Fleet is supporting from the side, and the flagship T3 Acom has locked onto us with its main cannon. The crew reports. Charlotte looks at the ship's radar and then gives an unexpected order. Change the star shield position, move to the right side of the ship. At this moment, the Fire Lizard 7th Fleet's fire is hitting the front star shield of the Storm Snow. If she withdraws the shield now, the ship will have to rely on its front armor to withstand the attack. But Zhao Qin doesn't stop her. Instead, he watches with a faint smile as Charlotte issues this command. He sees her intention clearly. The small guns of the T1 interstellar ships in the 7th Fleet are nothing to the Storm Snow's armor, just tickling. The attack from the T2 battleship is threatening, but combined, it's not as dangerous as the nearby T3 Acom. Plus, the front battlefield is protected by Storm Snow's drones, main guns, secondary guns, close-in weapons, and missile fire, so the threat level is low. However, if they rely solely on the ship's armor to withstand the T3 Acom's cluster laser main cannon, it could be dangerous. It might not destroy the ship with one shot, but it would cause serious damage, affecting the subsequent battle. So, Charlotte's plan is the best choice. Zhao Qin really likes this plan. Aren't you very powerful? Don't you have more ships than me? Right now, I'm standing right in front of you, about to attack your fleet's flagship. What can you do to me? Zhao Qin can already imagine the expression of the Fire Lizard clan leader, like he's just eaten dirt. He enjoys this feeling, being hated by others, feeling itchy and annoyed, but having no way to fight back. Soon, the shield system made adjustments. It appeared on the right side of the T3 Blizzard. Almost immediately, a focused laser beam followed, hitting the shield. This was the T3 Arkham coming to support. At the same time, the front armor of the ship lost its protection, and warning sounds of being hit by enemy fire kept ringing on the bridge. Even on the bridge, there was a faint sense of shaking. Report, the enemy's Fire Lizard 7th Fleet flagship has been locked on. The crew member shouted. Fire. Charlotte ordered directly. The heavily prepared Blizzard-class heavy laser cannon at the front once again showed its power. A blue-focused laser tore through all the Fire Lizard Fleet starships, blocking the way. Remember, these were all T2 starships, only lacking shield protection on their hulls. The flagship was just a T2 Titan-class heavy starship. The answer was clear. While defending against the side attack from the T3 Arkham's laser, the T3 Blizzard used its own laser to tear apart the T2 Titan's hull. The Fire Lizard leader was furious on his bridge, roaring in anger and frustration. He watched in rage as, in front of over 500 starships, his fleet's flagship was destroyed. He simply couldn't stop it. This humiliation was like playing with his little lizard lover right in front of him. Surround it. I want to tear it apart. If I can capture that man alive, I will make him suffer the worst punishment of my fire lizard race. The fire lizard leader's eyes were bloodshot as he pointed angrily at the starship in the scene. The vice admiral next to him, though relaying his orders, knew deep down that relying on a bunch of T1 starships and over 100 T2 ships to stop a T3 starship that could reach 210 light speed was impossible. If the enemy really wanted to escape, they couldn't stop him. But now, the leader was so furious that he probably wouldn't listen to reason. Talking more was useless. And indeed, what happened next proved the vice admiral's prediction. Although the T3 interstellar battleship endured many attacks, it relied on its star shield to withstand the clustered laser fire from the T3 Arkham. It quickly broke free from the encirclement of two fleets. This shows the huge difference in power between different levels of starships. It is also why T3 interstellar battleships are considered military-grade ships. T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battleship, bridge after breaking free. The T3 Blizzard did not continue fighting the Fire Lizard First Fleet and the 7th Fleet behind it. Instead, it sped up and headed toward another battlefield. Oh no, the Fire Lizard clan leader sensed something was wrong. This T3 battleship, after a quick strike, was now rushing to support another battlefield, working with the starships there to trap and destroy the already weakened Fire Lizard 4th and 8th Fleets. Support. Hurry and support. The Fire Lizard clan leader was furious. This was probably the most emotional battle he had experienced in recent years. He felt like his heart was bleeding. He never expected that this battle, which he had initially ignored, might now cost the Fire Lizard clan half of their lives. T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battleship, bridge current speed, 200 knots. Star shield energy remaining, 45%. Starship armor strength, 85% overall, 77% on the front, and 57% in some areas. Remaining ammunition, 37%. All interstellar missiles are used up. Starship energy, 37%. Blizzard-class star drones remaining, 39. Charlotte listened to these reports and immediately made her next plans. Return the star drones to the hangar for resupply and prepare to re-engage in battle. Adjust the star shield to the front, ready for a piercing attack on the enemy fleet. After giving orders for the T3 Blizzard, Charlotte looked at the nearby video window, showing real-time communication. On the other side was White Snow, the Wolf Girl. White Snow, based on your current situation, send the T2 Black Rhinoceros class interstellar heavy to support us in a piercing attack on the enemy fleet. White Snow confidently replied, no problem on our side. All 10 T2 Black Rhinoceros ships are ready to go. Because the T2 Queen B-class heavy carrier starship on this battlefield had already destroyed the T3 Ghost-class medium starship and heavily damaged many T2 starships. Plus, the T2 Queen Bee had a star shield and many T2 Larva-class light star drones protecting it. So even without the T2 Black Rhinoceros-class heavy starships, it could still defend itself and the T2 Lion King-class heavy star missile ship behind it. Then, under the command of the White Snow Wolf Girl, 10 T2 Black Rhinoceros ships, long waiting, suddenly revealed their horns. Each T2 Black Rhinoceros, like they had been energized, charged straight at the enemy ships. Their reckless charge surprised the enemy fleet of Fire Lizard species. One of the Fire Lizard fleet's T2 star battleship cruisers looked foolishly at the T2 star ship with the horn charging directly at it. When did star ships dare to confront star battleships? Although it had just been hit by a few star missiles from the enemy star missile ship, was it really going to be bullied just because it was a smaller ship? No way. It still had the dignity of a star cruiser. Just a small star ship. A few minutes later, this star cruiser was hit by the T2 Black Rhinoceros from the side, causing serious damage to its keel structure, splitting it in two, and it was destroyed. The arrival of 10 T2 Black Rhinoceros ships immediately threw the battle into chaos. Their terrifying armor made it impossible for the T1 star battleships to damage them. The few T2 star ships trying to hold their ground were overwhelmed by continuous waves of star drones. Where are our star drones? A Fire Lizard captain was furious as several star drones harassed him. But he was helpless, because the 10 unreasonable T2 star ships charged recklessly, disrupting their formation. This made it easier for the star drones to attack. To deal with star drones, besides the starship's defensive intercepts, the best way was to fight fire with fire. Use star drones against star drones. They also have a starship called the T-2C Wolf-class medium carrier starship. They also have interstellar fighters and drones. But when he looked for his fleet's carrier starship, he could only see one being attacked by a swarm of interstellar drones. The drones and fighters on that T-2C Wolf-class carrier had no chance to launch a counterattack. The deck and hangar were constantly under attack. A few T-2 Bumblebee-class heavy interstellar drones even carried out several bombing runs. Control of the interstellar airspace had completely fallen to the enemy's drones. It was a total crushing defeat. At the same time, the seemingly invincible T-3 Blizzard-class light starship battleship also arrived, turning the battlefield into a bloody slaughter. The ordinary T-1 starships couldn't withstand just a few close-range anti-aircraft shots. The slightly stronger T-2 starships could easily tear apart their hull armor with their main and secondary guns. The Fire Lizard clan leader, rushing at full speed, witnessed all this. His blood was no longer just dripping, it was gushing out. In less than half an hour of battle, how did it come to this? All our starships. Why was the enemy's T-3 starship so fierce? Why was their T-2 carrier starship crushing his? Why were their T-2 starship escorts directly riding over his starship's face to attack? And let's not forget that terrifying T-2 Lion King-class heavy missile ship. This is a nightmare. It's definitely a nightmare. Stop! The Fire Lizard clan leader suddenly shouted. The deputy beside him stared in shock. Retreat. The Fire Lizard clan leader sank onto the captain's chair, eyes bloodshot, staring at the gray starships on the screen. He really wanted to tear those starships apart and crush them into debris. Huh. Retreat? Clan leader, our 4th Fleet and 8th Fleet are still fighting over there. The deputy asked in surprise. The Fire Lizard clan leader grabbed his deputy's neck. I told you to retreat. Didn't you hear me? In this situation, continuing to fight might have a chance of victory, but his ships would likely be lost, and the most important thing was that the ship he was on could also be destroyed. The enemy is very likely to fight to the death, and the terrifying power of that T-3 interstellar battleship is well known. The Fire Lizard clan leader does not want to take risks, so he chooses to retreat. The Fire Lizard deputy quickly swallows and relays his leader's orders. The 1st and 7th Fire Lizard fleets, which had been preparing to support, immediately turn around and retreat. At the same time, the 4th and 8th Fire Lizard fleets, which had been fighting hard and waiting for support from the clan leader's fleet, received the retreat orders first. Some might ask, why did only the T-2 interstellar battleships receive the retreat orders? That's because the T-1 battleships of the Fire Lizard clan only received the orders to retreat a few minutes later. Before that, the T-2 battleships had already begun to withdraw. This caused the T-1 battleships to become unavoidable casualties, left behind to cover the retreat. The Xianglong fleet, seeing this, did not pursue aggressively. They only destroyed the T-1 Fire Lizard starships that lagged behind and broadcasted a message to them. Close your starship engines and surrender. Many T-1 Fire Lizard battleships eventually chose to surrender. The Xianglong fleet ignored these T-1 ships, letting them stay where they were, while the fleet kept a distance and continued to chase the fleeing Fire Lizard fleet. In fact, they were just driving them away. Charlotte's goal was to force the Fire Lizard fleet out of the FY star system. This pursuit continued until the Fire Lizard fleet was about to enter the Stargate near the Forbidden War zone of the FY star system, at which point it stopped. FY star system Stargate control room radar detected signals from a group of interstellar battleships. The Stargate operator immediately focused and looked at the screen, muttering, could it be the Fire Lizard fleet? They finished the battle so quickly, but soon, he realized he was wrong. These ships are indeed Fire Lizard interstellar battleships, but something seems off. The ships are completely out of formation, as if they are being chased and fleeing in panic. Many of the battleships are damaged and look very battered. Has the Fire Lizard fleet been defeated? The Stargate operator stared in disbelief, unable to believe what he saw. He recalled the 10 or so gray interstellar warships that appeared here after the Lizard Fire Clan fleet. Could these be the results of those ships' battles? But just 10 or so interstellar warships couldn't possibly have fought against over 1,000 ships. The Stargate administrator looked more closely and saw that the Lizard Fire fleet, which had over 1,500 ships a few hours ago, had now lost nearly half. What exactly happened? After the Lizard Fire clan's fleet entered the no-war zone, they finally relaxed a little. Let the fleet rest, then we return to the main base first, said the Lizard Fire clan leader with a low voice and a grim face. Who would have thought that a seemingly ordinary interstellar battle would cost him nearly 700 ships, about the size of 2 fleets, including a T-3 Ghost-class medium interstellar destroyer? Yes, replied the Lizard Fire deputy officer, going to handle the leader's orders. The clan leader leaned back in the captain's chair and raised his hand, releasing several images. All the images showed the gray interstellar warships that appeared during the recent battle. There was a ship suspected to be a T-3 interstellar battleship cruiser, a T-2 interstellar ship, a T-2 carrier starship, and a T-2 interstellar missile ship. He added these images to his Starship Systems database, but multiple searches yielded no information about these ships. He had known this long ago. At the start of the battle, his subordinates had reported it. But he was still determined to keep trying. Finally, he couldn't hold back and punched the virtual image of the T-3 interstellar battleship. His fist passed through the virtual image, which only flickered slightly without any change. The T-3 battleship remained there, and its bow cannon seemed to mock him. This scene constantly reminded him of the flagship of his 7th Fleet, destroyed right in front of him. The Lizard Fire clan leader withdrew his emotions, lying back in the captain's chair and covering his eyes with his arm. After an unknown amount of time, he felt someone nearby. He removed his arm and looked at his deputy. Tell me, what are our losses this time? The Fire Lizard deputy officer felt nervous and carefully replied. If we do not count the losses from the first battle, the 200 interstellar warships lost by the 3rd Fleet, and 1 T-3 Arkham-class medium interstellar battleship, then. In this battle, we lost a total of 600 interstellar warships. Our 1st Fleet starship loss rate is 5%. The flagship of the 4th Fleet was destroyed, with a loss rate of 26%. The flagship of the 7th Fleet was destroyed, with a loss rate of 77%. The flagship of the 8th Fleet was destroyed, with a loss rate of 73%. Among these, there was 1 T-3 Ghost-class medium interstellar destroyer, 180 T-2 interstellar warships, and the rest were T-1 interstellar warships. During this battle, the enemy mainly targeted our T-2 interstellar warships. Over 23,000 personnel sacrificed their lives. Additionally, 1/3 of the armor on the ships that safely retreated was heavily damaged. Hearing this series of numbers, the leader of the Fire Lizard clan was furious. These ships were the foundation of their survival in this dangerous asteroid field. Now, it was as if he had lost an arm. He knew that if this news spread, some of his enemies would take the opportunity to retaliate. Returned to the main base, the Fire Lizard clan leader forced down his anger and closed his eyes. The deputy officer beside him couldn't help but ask, Chief, about the FY star system. Should we just let it go? Let it go? Are you joking? I won't rest until I have avenged those interstellar warships and that man. I swear I will not stop until I get revenge. The clan leader suddenly stood up and pushed the deputy against the wall. The surrounding Fire Lizard soldiers dared not make a sound, afraid of offending him. But, our current situation. The deputy cautiously looked at the leader. I admit, that mysterious guy's starship is very strong. But don't forget, this is the asteroid field. The Fire Lizard clan leader released the deputy and said grimly, after returning to the main base, contact Sun Xiao and tell him that I have agreed to the conditions he previously offered. However, the guy from the Starshine Empire had previously set very strict conditions. The deputy was surprised. The clan leader had negotiated with Sun Xiao from the Starshine Empire several times before, but all talks ended without agreement. Unexpectedly, this time the clan leader took the initiative to contact Sun Xiao. Right now, our Fire Lizard clan's combat strength has weakened and is not what it used to be. We need to find a strong supporter. Over the years, Sun Xiao has hidden many cards in the Dark Reef star domain. With his help, we can at least protect our current territory from loss. Moreover, we can use his power to eliminate those mysterious enemies. The Fire Lizard clan leader's eyes flashed with a fierce look. Soon, the The Fire Lizard starships began crossing the Stargate in the FY star system to return to their base. Outside the war zone near the Stargate in the FY star system, Zhao Qin's spaceship quickly learned that the Fire Lizard starships had already left. "Good job," Zhao Qin said with admiration as he looked at Charlotte. At this moment, Ailey reported the details of the battle, including enemy kills and our own losses. All the T2 Lion King-class heavy star missiles were used up, and the T2 Queen Bee-class heavy carrier drones suffered a 50% damage rate. 10 T2 Black Rhinoceros-class heavy ships, one of which was seriously damaged, with some compartments sealed and 3 female crew members injured but not in danger. 4 ships had armor damage over 50%, with their armor strength reaching critical levels. The remaining 5 T2 Black Rhinoceros ships fared slightly better. All T3 Blizzard Star missiles were used up, with only 16% of the ship's ammunition remaining, 17% of energy left, and 17 star drones still operational. The ship's armor had 73% strength remaining. 1 crew member was seriously injured, 13 lightly injured, with no fatalities. The seriously injured crew member was treated in the T3 Blizzard's medical bay and is no longer in danger. They need to recover in a special medical facility, currently resting in a hibernation pod, and will be safe within a month. Listening to Ailey's report, it was clear that this was truly a remarkable victory. By showcasing the strengths of their starship, they quickly destroyed the enemy fleet's flagship and a large number of T2 interstellar warships, causing the enemy fleet to lose effective combat power and intimidating them. In the end, the enemy fleet chose to retreat. Charlotte fully understood the weaknesses of these small tribal interstellar fleets. Damaged starships return to the 3rd planet first. The remaining starships form a fleet. "Let's go meet our future neighbors, Zhao Qin said, raising his hand to open the star map of the FY galaxy, marking the planets with large populations. It's time to tell them. Who is the true ruler of this galaxy now? First planet of the FY galaxy, this is the hottest planet in the FY galaxy. Because it is close to its star, it still receives plenty of sunlight. It is also the relatively wealthiest planet in the galaxy. Many different alien races live here, numbering over 100. On the planet, 2 main kingdoms dominate. In the past, these 2 kingdoms were enemies, each trying to eliminate the other and gain full control of the first planet. Today, both kings are filled with fear, because their satellites in nearby orbits observed a star battle far away near the 3rd planet. They don't know exactly what happened, but from the energy signals detected, they can tell that a fleet of 1,500 starships fought against a smaller fleet of just over a dozen starships. They are very familiar with that fleet. It belongs to the Fire Lizards, the higher-level controllers. Both kingdoms pay annual protection fees to the Fire Lizards in exchange for their protection. During the battle, nearly half of the energy signals from the Fire Lizards' fleet disappeared in just 1 hour. They understand what this means. Later, the mysterious dozen or so starships chased the Fire Lizards' fleet all the way to the Stargate of the FY galaxy, forcing the Fire Lizards' fleet out of the galaxy entirely. After that, before they could process what had happened, the mysterious and powerful interstellar fleet headed toward their planet. In all directions around the planet, over the main cities, residents looked up and saw a T2 interstellar battleship above their heads. It was a T2 starship, a type of interstellar ship. The ships bore some scars from battles, but the leaders saw these marks and did not underestimate the ships. They knew exactly what these scars meant. Any interstellar battleship on this planet, please do not leave your current position. Otherwise, it will be considered a declaration of war, and you will be responsible for the consequences, a cold female voice echoed through the public communication system. As soon as the voice sounded, the leaders of the 2 planetary kingdoms immediately ordered their ships to avoid any dangerous actions. There weren't many ships on this planet. Only a few T2 battleships and about 60 T1 ships. Although T2 ships were not very large, T1 ships looked tiny in comparison. Most importantly, at the border between the 2 kingdoms, above the largest trading city, a T3 starship was slowly entering the atmosphere. T2 ships were already top fighters for this planet's forces, but T3 ships were like gods. What was even more frightening was that all main and secondary guns on the T3 ship were aimed at the city below, and star drones controlled the airspace. At the same time, outside the atmosphere, a T-2 carrier ship was on standby, with hundreds of star drones entering the planet. All flying vehicles were ordered not to take off, and those already in the air had to land within 10 minutes. On the bridge of the Stormbreaker-class light cruiser, Zhao Qin sat in the captain's chair, looking down at the city. He watched as the residents looked up with fear and dread. "Leaders of the two kingdoms have sent us communication requests," Ailey said nearby. "Ignore them for now. Let them come to the city below immediately. Allow them to board the shuttle," Zhao Qin said calmly. "Yes," Ailey replied with a brief message. Soon, each of the two capitals of the kingdoms had a shuttle arriving, rushing quickly toward the border trade city. After about 10 minutes, they landed in the largest square of the trade city. The local residents looked in surprise at the two kings who appeared at the same time. The chubby king wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at the slim king, who was almost simultaneously stepping off the shuttle. He didn't pay much attention to the other's appearance. The slim king looked at the chubby king, and they exchanged a silent understanding. They both approached each other. "Chubby, what do you know about this force?" "I'm not sure. It seems to have suddenly appeared, but one thing is certain, it's very strong. My military satellites detected that on the third planet's battlefield, the energy signal of a T-3 interstellar battleship from the Fire Lizard tribe disappeared. Not just this time. Over 10 days ago, I detected energy fluctuations indicating that a T-3 battleship from the Fire Lizard tribe was destroyed." The two kings looked up at the T-3 battleship above them, feeling very anxious. They didn't know what the other side was planning. Any harmful intentions from the enemy would leave them no chance to fight back. A shadow cast down from the belly of the T-3 battleship. It was a man sitting in the captain's chair, wearing a black mask. "Greetings, your majesties. Let me introduce myself. I am the commander of the Lion King fleet. You can call me," Zhao Qin said, glancing at the two kings. He had used the alias, Black Dragon Fleet, at the Arctic Fox starport before. Since using the name, Xiaolong Fleet, was not appropriate here, he chose a different alias. This time, the name of the outstanding T2 Lion King from this campaign. "Great King, may I ask what brings you to our planet this time?" The slim king quickly knelt on both knees. He showed no concern about the residents watching nearby. "Wow, this guy moves really fast." The overweight king immediately knelt on the ground, flattering him. "Great King, it is our honor to have you visit our planet. You must be tired from your long journey. I can host a feast to welcome the Great King and the Lion King fleet." Zhao Qin was pleased with their attitude, though he might think it was a bit fake. Fake or not, it didn't matter. What he cared about was whether they understood the situation. "Just to inform you, from now on, in the FY star system, I am the one in charge. I don't like the name FY star system. It's too awkward. I don't care what others call it outside. From today, this will be my Lion King star system. Clear?" Zhao Qin looked sharply at the faces of the overweight king and the thin king. This man was here to declare sovereignty. Both kings were not fools. They immediately sensed this man's intentions. "Great King, you are the ruler of the Lion King star system. Your will is the will of the entire star system." The overweight king quickly flattered. The thin king was not willing to show weakness. "It's just a name. The Great King only needs to inform us. If you wish, my kingdom is yours." Watching these two clowns perform, Zhao Qin truly felt what it was like to be in a high position. "I have no other plans. Just continue your normal lives. If you have any orders, I will send someone to inform you. I don't like others to oppose my wishes. You should know what that could lead to," Zhao Qin said, implying something. The thin king and the overweight king quickly understood that this was a warning about the Fire Lizard fleet that had been destroyed earlier. This masked man meant, "I can easily destroy half of the Fire Lizard fleet starships, and I can easily crush you." After some formal words, Zhao Qin didn't waste more time. The T-3 Blizzard began slowly leaving the planet's atmosphere. The other T-2 Black Rhinoceros-class interstellar heavy ships also returned to formation and headed toward the second planet. Before Zhao Qin